Mike's on. We're hot. Hello, everybody watching us. We're way later than I wanted. I wanted to start like 4:15 today, but I had to install a toilet, and that fucking went awry a bit. Well, okay, so we'll get to NBA free agency stuff in a second because there's a ton to dive into, and I'm going to show the rosters that I put together last night on NBA 2K19 of how I predicted it. Some were good, some were bad, but that's fine. But first of all, I've got my buddy Alex Del Barrio is on with me, and if I'm doing an NBA free agency preview, there's only one person I would do that with, and that's Sean Bajani, but he was busy, so I asked Alex to do it with me.
I believe it now.
No, I mean, of course, we did the Free Ball and podcast together. Alex and I, it's just we're basketball junkies. We love basketball so much, so there was nobody in the world that I would rather do an NBA free agency special with than you, Alex. So thank you so much for coming on.
Dude, we've been looking forward to doing this for a while now, and I'm so glad that we can do this. But there's so much happening in the world of the NBA right now. We're playing catch up just because we got kind of getting this started, but just a ton to get to. I'm looking forward to breaking this down. There's a lot of things that are making me very excited. There's a lot of things that are making me kind of sad. There's a lot of things that are making me honestly pretty angry. So. We'll get a chance to break it all down.
Yeah, and man, when I was trying to predict, there was a lot. I thought everything was going to be really simple and straightforward whenever I thought about how I was going to predict where these guys were going to go. But as I was going through these rosters, and what I did on NBA on 2K was I just went the most updated rosters that they have, where Professor 2K he already had the rookies in. He already essentially had Kemba to the Celtics. He already had Kyrie to the Nets, because those were moves that we knew were like 99.9% sure they were going to happen. And so he had them pretty updated, but then I started releasing guys to free agency and then trying to figure out where I was going to add them. And there were some no-brainers, but then there were some that I just had no idea. So it's interesting. It's going to be interesting to see how it all kind of falls together. For sure, but that toilet, man, we would have been live. We would have been live whenever the KD thing was announced. But what happened with that toilet is that our toilet's been broken. The downstairs one, you've been to our house plenty of times. The downstairs one has been broken for a while. So if you're a man, you can stand up and pee inside of it and flush it, and it's fine. But as soon as you sit on the toilet, the seals were busted and it would leak. So I finally replaced the toilet. And I was like, yeah, I did it. This is awesome. I did it in less than an hour. And whenever I fucking went to flush it the first time, water just shot out of the sides of the bottom of it. I flooded the entire bathroom with water because I left the fucking rag that I used to plug the hole that you're supposed to put in so the fumes don't get into your house. I left the rag plugged into the fucking hole whenever I put the toilet on. So I was trying to flush it and all the water was hitting the rag and just shooting outside. So I had to take the toilet back off and then remove the rag and then put it back. So whatever. I replaced the toilet today. I'm kind of mostly a man, and now we're going to talk about NBA free agency. So as I go into these rosters, the first thing we got to talk about, one of the main things I want to talk about is where is Kawhi Leonard going to go? Because I want to get your thoughts on this for sure. But one of the things that we found out already, and one of the biggest things, I was at the gym trying to finish my workout before I came home and did this, was we found out that Kevin Durant is going to the Nets. And I was moving around those rosters last night trying to do my free agent predictions, and I put Kevin Durant on the Nets, and I just had a feeling the Knicks were going to miss out on him. He wasn't going to stay with the Warriors. The Clippers weren't a serious thing. And so it was going to be Kevin Durant and Kyrie Irving with the Nets. But the one little wrinkle that I didn't think about was DeAndre Jordan joining them there. So with Kevin Durant, he's going to be out for a long time. But the additions of Kyrie Irving and DeAndre Jordan, what does this mean for the Brooklyn Nets? How much better are they going to be now? I guess is my question.
well, first things first, they are New York's team now. They have taken the mantle of New York's team. And I saw Adam Spillane, our good buddy who covers the Rockets for Sports Radio 610, tweet out, can the Nets and the Knicks now switch arenas? And I can't think of a better thing to say as a result of this, because you've now officially displaced the majesty that is the New York Knicks, because not only is the second best player in the world, and in some people's eyes the best player in the world, or the best scorer in the world, in Kevin Durant, now leaving and going to New York, but he's doing it not as a New York Knick, which everyone predicted. All we were talking about all season long is the Knicks. The Knicks were already thinking and planning for Kevin Durant's arrival. That it was a done deal. That no question, he was either going to stay in Golden State or he was going to the Knicks. And the Nets were kind of like lingering in the background, saying, okay. And it was all about, could Kyrie go there? Could Kawhi go there? Those were the rumblings. You weren't really hearing Kevin Durant to the Brooklyn Nets, especially a combination of Kevin Durant and Kyrie Irving. That started to materialize over the last couple of months. I would say probably from the second round of the playoffs moving forward, we started to hear the Nets a little bit more.
And even then, it was just like, it was tiny little rumblings, right? It wasn't even, it was just like, oh, they might be a player. Like, it was never anything in depth, you know?
Exactly. And that was the whole thing, that it was so quiet with Kevin Durant himself that it was almost a situation where you didn't know who to believe in terms of the NBA insiders, because it honestly couldn't come from anywhere credible is what you were thinking. In the same way that we've had this situation with Chris Paul and James Harden from multiple different NBA quote unquote insiders. We haven't really had a chance to get a firm story on that. That's kind of been the same thing with Kevin Durant, and the same thing, honestly, with Kawhi Leonard as well, is where could they end up going? And now this breaks that not only is it going to be Kevin Durant, but Kyrie Irving, who we knew was leaving Boston, but we just didn't know where. And we were kind of pretty sure he was going to Brooklyn, but it was kind of still out there that he could go to the Knicks if Kevin Durant went to the Knicks. But now you got the two of them, and you got DeAndre Jordan. All of a sudden, the Raptors' reign as the NBA champions, and certainly the champions of the East, is in serious, serious jeopardy, not even withstanding what's going to happen with Kawhi. You have to think, and maybe it doesn't happen next year, because who knows if Kevin Durant's going to take the floor next year. Who knows when it's going to happen? Maybe Kyrie has a phenomenal season with DeAndre Jordan. The only thing is now you got to lose D'Angelo Russell, who, I thought was a pretty good player, and I thought was going to be a piece for that Brooklyn Nets team moving forward. I thought he retransformed himself after a horrendous start to his career with the Lakers. And now all of a sudden you're kind of in a situation where if you're Brooklyn, you can kind of, I don't want to say dilly-dally, but you can dilly-dally a little bit this season, kind of figure things out. And then the year after, all of a sudden you get Kevin Durant coming back into the fold. It's going to be a nightmare for NBA teams in the Eastern Conference.
Yeah. So what's weird? So you remember how I said DeAndre Jordan's with the Nets, and I said I was having a hard time figuring out where some of these guys were going to go, because DeAndre Jordan to me is one of those wild card guys that could really go. He could have gone to any place that he saw fit on a lower contract, and he just wanted to go compete with a good group of guys. There were rumors that maybe he might go to the Lakers. There were rumors that he might go other places. The Rockets were a rumor, so I just put him on the Rockets because I just had a feeling. Like, I have a feeling that the Rockets. And maybe this is undue, but I had a feeling maybe the Rockets would just try to make a move just to change things up because they feel unsettled with what they want to do. And so I put, if you're looking on the screen right now, I put DeAndre Jordan on the Rockets, and I salary dumped Eric Gordon and Capella. But obviously DeAndre Jordan is going to the Nets. And two things with the Nets. They're not going to be as good as they will be 2 or 3 years from now, but they're still going to be a really good team in the Eastern Conference, right? I agree with everything that you said. But 2 to 3 years... By the way,
they're also getting my boy Garrett Temple over there in Brooklyn.
He's a good 3-and-D guy, too.
Exactly.
And so like they're going to be a very good team. That people don't realize just how good Karis LeVert and Spencer Dinwiddie are as players. They're two really, really solid players. And then you're adding DeAndre Jordan and Kyrie Irving to that, and then Kevin Durant's going to finish his rehab in 2 to 3 years. The Nets are going to be one of the best teams in the Eastern Conference. And to me, it's really exciting to see that the Brooklyn Nets kind of surprisingly emerged as a contender, or not really a contender in the Eastern Conference, but they emerged as a playoff team and emerged as New York's team. And now it's just, I honestly at this point I kind of feel bad for Dolan. Like there's a lot. I
have no sympathy for James Dolan.
I guess
None.
I shouldn't.
None.
But there's a little bit. There's a little bit for me. Like it's just like he had all the chances in the world to put together a team. Now what is he gonna get? Like, is Boogie gonna be a part of the Knicks now? I predicted the Knicks would miss out on everybody and have to sign DeMarcus Cousins because that's the only thing they're gonna have left for them. So is Boogie gonna be a part of the Knicks plans? So the Knicks sucks for you, but the Nets are going to be New York's team for a while now, at least. But the other thing about the Nets is,
by the way, Kevin Durant made it official with his Instagram post.
He did.
I just tweeted the Instagram post on @AlexDelBarrio. If you guys want to take a look, it comes from Kevin Durant's official. It comes from the Boardroom, which I guess is his like business media platform deal. Mm-hmm. But it's out there. It's official. Another thing, Shams Charania just tweeted out Terry Rozier fully guareed 3-year, $58 million deal with the Hornets, so they get him to replace Kemba Walker.
That's just the how bad. Like it's not as bad as it could have been to replace Kemba Walker, but also like to go from Kemba Walker to Terry Rozier, you have to feel pretty bad about yourself, right? Like that's got to be really sad.
It's kind of like when the pretty girl, the head cheerleader, kind of it breaks up with the boyfriend right before the prom, and you see an opportunity to kind of go in and swoop in, and that's your prom date. Then they get back together right before the prom. Not only are you without a date, but everyone else in the school has already been taken, so you kind of get stuck with whatever's left. That's what's happening to the Charlotte Hornets.
I want you to watch the screen. It's going to take a few minutes for you to see this. You're not going to be able to see it live, but everybody who's watching, watch the screen. I just released Terry Rozier from the Celtics, so I can put him on the Hornets. I want you all to pay attention to how long, and these free agents are guys, except for Danilo Gallinari, these are all free agent guys who were free agents on the game itself before I released them. Watch how long it takes me to get to Terry Rozier. There's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Oh, I lost count already. I can't count above 7. Look at this. Just going forever. Oh, there we go. We've got Terry Rozier right underneath Trey Burke. That's what the Charlotte Hornets were left with. Was a guy who is ever so slightly worse than Trey Burke as per NBA 2K19. Oh my God, the Hornets are full. They don't want him. The Hornets refuse to take him.
Josh, for a second here, can we flip this a little bit on the Kevin Durant deal? So
absolutely.
Adrian Wojnarowski about 34 minutes ago said Kevin Durant and his business manager Rick Kleiman met with Warriors GM Bob Myers, the crybaby himself, Sunday in New York and delivered him the news on a decision to leave the Warriors. League sources tell ESPN. Rest of teams were informed later today. Team's thought process was pretty forthright. Yeah. It's good news that he was classy about it, but here's the thing. We're not talking about how the Golden State Warriors are going to be affected with this right now. Because I understand that they made it to the NBA Finals, but they don't make it to the NBA Finals if Kevin Durant's not with them for the entire season. They don't make it to the NBA Finals even if they start that series with Houston without Kevin Durant.
Correct.
The Golden State rallied to the occasion to take care of the Rockets in the semifinals, and the Rockets had their own issues kind of going on. I fully believe if that series began with Houston and Golden State without Kevin Durant, and it was just the Splash Brother, the original Golden State Warriors before KD's arrival, I think the Rockets win that series, and I think you're seeing Rockets Raptors in the NBA Finals, and then I think it's a toss-up series because I think the Rockets are a much more difficult matchup for Toronto than the Golden State Warriors were. So now we're talking about the future of the Golden State Warriors, which I think people were kind of already assuming because Kevin Durant, torn Achilles, probably not going to play at all next season in 2019, 2020. But what you are kind of dealing with is you're looking at the end of the era here. You're kind of looking at this is where it all kind of went down. They're going to be good, but they're not going to be what they were. Yes, you still have Klay Thompson, and I think the only reason they have Klay Thompson is because Kevin Durant decided not to play there anymore.
Right.
And I think they assumed that he wasn't going to play there anymore. You and I have been talking probably for 3 or 4 years, at the prospect of Klay Thompson being the odd man out.
Right.
I think Klay Thompson showed in this postseason, especially in the NBA Finals, that he is the player that we all remembered him being before Kevin Durant arrived, and the Warriors decided to take care of him in that regard. You still have Steph Curry, you still have Draymond Green, who, by the way, is not the same Draymond Green he was 2 seasons ago. It could be different. They may have to move things around, but you're going to see some of their role players potentially get signed as free agents. The whole Kevin Looney situation is something to watch. And despite the fact that he's a backup player, he's a rotation player for the Golden State Warriors.
He's been huge for
that matter.
He's been huge for them. Huge. And so, like, Kevon Looney, there are going to be a lot of teams that see the way that he plays. He plays specifically in the playoffs, situationally for the Warriors when they have to go to a bigger lineup. He's so incredibly athletic and active. He's an asset to almost any team that he's on. And so, I think a lot of teams are going to go after him. By the way,
this broke from Woj.
Okay.
Al-Farouq Aminu agreed to a 3-year, $29 million deal with the Magic. League sources tell ESPN. Player option on the 3rd year.
There's another goddamn prediction wrong. I thought for sure somehow the Rockets were gonna convince Aminu to come play for them. Come play for them on the taxpayer MLE or some shit like that. And there's a prediction wrong. Fuck, man. Aminu being gone, and we'll dive into some like Rockets specific stuff here in a little bit. But Aminu being gone to me that's a shot to the Rockets, because that's one guy that you could have moved a little bit of cap around and convinced him, hey, you are our linchpin, but we need you to take less money. But with you, we'll win a championship. He was one of those guys. He has become a much better 3-point shooter, especially than he was earlier on in his career. He was garbage. But with the Mavericks, he kind of changed how he played, and that's why Portland gave him the money that they did, and he was great for Portland. But now, man, the Magic might actually end up being good. Like, Vucevic is re-signing with them, right? Aaron Gordon's still there.
Yes.
They might end up being a pretty scarily good team. Who should we drop? Should we drop Markelle Fultz just to be dicks so we can add Al-Farouq Aminu on there?
Yeah, why not?
Let's drop Markelle Fultz. He's a piece of garbage, so who cares? So Al-Farouq Aminu is now on the Magic. So because I predicted, and I want to get in just 2 seconds, I want to get into Kawhi and where we think he's going to go. But I predicted that because of the DeAndre Jordan signing with the Rockets thing, I moved Capella, and Capella was a Dallas Maverick, but I'm going to have to change that up and put him back on the Rockets. Because I thought for sure the Rockets would try to dump some salary, but everybody has to like go and do the shit that I don't want them to do. Ugh. So Al-Farouq Aminu, man, look how far down I have to go for his ass. And he's going to the Magic, correct?
Here's a question. Should I put Chris Broussard's timeline on my tweet deck or not? Because I've got Mark Stein and I've got Woj. Do I really need to put Chris Broussard's up? Because he's probably going to take it from somebody else anyway.
Yeah. I say no because of that.
So I've got my feeds going here. Who should my other feeds be here on my tweet deck? Should I be watching? I think I'm fine with Stein and Woj. Maybe Mark Spears.
I don't know.
Mark
Mark Spears is probably good. I've literally only got, I think it's Ramona Shelburne on my NBA list.
I don't have Ramona. That's a bad move by me.
Yeah, that's it. You suck mostly for not doing that. I have 7 members on my NBA talk list, and it's specifically for times like this. I have Shams, which Shams just regurgitates all of Woj's stuff, but I have him anyway. I have David Aldridge. I have Woj, Mark Stein, Bobby Marks, Zach Lowe, and Ramona Shelburne. Those are the only people I have on my NBA list. And those are the only ones you really just need Woj and Mark Stein, honestly.
So Ramona Shelburne just said on the jump that Magic Johnson has been quote in communication with Kawhi Leonard and his camp.
Oh man, another one that we haven't talked about this yet. The New Orleans Pelicans are predicted to have about $18 million in cap room after signing J.J. Redick to a 2-year, $26.5 million contract. The guard has now earned $62 million in 3 separate contracts since the 2017-18 season. So J.J. Redick is going to be a New Orleans Pelican with Zion Williamson, and that's kind of a shot to both of us because I would have. J.J. Redick in Houston would be.
We've been mock GMing J.J. Redick to either the Mavs or Rockets for like 5 years.
Yeah, but he never fucking goes, man.
Remember when he signed that 1 year, 20 something? Was it this last year when he signed that 1 year, 20 something $million contract with the Sixers? No, it was
the year before. It was the year before.
It was the year before, and then he re-signed, and we're just like, God, come on, man! Like I understand you want the money, but the shot was there for you. If J.J. Redick was on the Houston Rockets 2 seasons ago, they
win Rockets a championship.
Are the NBA champions
easily?
J.J. Redick's on that team.
Yeah.
Easily, because I guarantee you they're not missing 17, 20 straight threes like they did 27. In Game 7.
They're not missing 27 fucking three-pointers with J.J. Redick on there. Because J.J. Redick, I don't even know if that guy can miss 2 3-pointers in a row, if I'm honest. Like, you very rarely see him miss that. I forgot. What team did he go to? The Pelicans? They're going to be so... They're not going to be irrelevant. They're going to be good, but they're not going to be a real contender. And that's what's disappointing if you're like, I think I would even rather see him. Oh my God, the Rockets made a move. The Rockets made a move, everybody. Daniel House has agreed to a 3-year, $11.1 million deal to return to the Houston Rockets. Woo! Yay.
The guy that
they did it, everyone.
Here's the thing. I love Daniel House.
I do too.
I love. He was here in Rio Grande Valley. He dominated. He helped that team get in a position to win a championship down here. But you don't get in this business to win G League championships.
Right.
As much as that, I love the Vipers and I love that. I've been a part of a championship team with that organization. But Daniel House was a rotation player, and this is as much I think on Mike D'Antoni than it is on Daniel House. But he made Daniel House in a situation where once they got to the postseason, they quit using him and he lost his confidence.
Yeah.
And when they needed to use them because of injuries, they had nothing for him and he had nothing to give. He's a player that really fits in what they do, and they need to make sure that they figure out a way to utilize him much better than they did at the end of the season last year.
Yeah, and they made a lot of really bad decisions last year from a team building aspect. I mean, obviously everything that they decided to do that Daryl Morey did from the beginning of the year, from the Carmelo Anthony experiment to thinking that Michael Carter Williams was going to be an option, it was all terrible decision making. And then they got really, really lucky that they got Austin Rivers when they did. They got really lucky that they got Kenneth Faried when they did, and they found takers to get under the luxury tax and take on some of those shitty contracts that they had. And then the one final terrible mistake that they had was toying around with Daniel House and not paying him whenever they needed to. And it shot them in the foot. And I love Daniel House too, but I mean, 3 years, $11.1 million. Like, it's a good deal. It's a bargain, but like, does that move the sticks if you're the Rockets? And I saw earlier, and now let's get to a couple these couple of guys because they're the big names. But I saw earlier, and we'll start with Jimmy Butler since we're already on the topic of the Rockets, that Jimmy Butler it's already being reported that like he's already told the Heat that he really wants to play for them.
Yeah.
And so I can't remember who reported it earlier. I saw it on my NBA list. So Jimmy Butler's probably going to be with the Miami Heat. And like if he does do that and the Rockets miss out on Jimmy Butler, what do they do? What do they do? Because I did my very first fake radio show inspired by Matt Hammond when I did this shit. I said, is there anything the Rockets can do internally to get better? Can they just get better and still compete while all of these other teams in the Western Conference are making all these crazy-ass moves? And there's a large part of me that says, no, Chris Paul is going to be a year older. Unless they make some legitimately serious moves to try to bring other talent in. But, I mean, to me, Jimmy Butler wasn't the answer either. So what the fuck can the Rockets do now? Like, what is there any move in your mind out there that they can make?
Okay, so this is hang on real quick. This is a surprise. I want to get to that. Ricky Rubio, who of course was with the T-Wolves, and then he got obviously the last couple of years with the Jazz. Everyone was expecting him to go to the Pacers.
Yeah,
like it was a done deal that he was going to the Pacers. We just got word here. Shams Charania just tweeted out 43 seconds ago. Ricky Rubio, 3 years, $51 million with the Phoenix Suns.
Damn, man.
Phoenix coming out of nowhere. I haven't heard
million.
Phoenix mentioned with anyone.
One person. I've heard Phoenix, or two people. I've heard Phoenix mentioned with two people, and I predicted. Well, I kind of predicted the other one, but I just, because of the moves that are made with JJ Redick and everything else, I predicted originally that Julius Randle and Malcolm Brogdon would find their way to the Suns. I've heard the rumblings that Julius Randle really wanted to play. Brogdon's going to what?
Brogdon's now going to the Pacers.
Oh, are you predicting that, or is that true?
No, it's just been tweeted. Shams Charania of Yahoo just tweeted out.
God damn it. Well, I made another prediction of Brogdon going to the Mavericks, but no, that's wrong now. Damn, man, the Mavericks are missing out. I'm so mad.
Bojan Bogdanovic, 4 years, $73 million with the Utah Jazz.
Yeah, I heard that. I heard the rumblings of that happening. I see Shams tweeted Jeremy Lamb has agreed to a 3-year deal with the Indiana Pacers. I don't see anything about Brogdon. Not yet.
Now
I just saw it 50 seconds ago. Damn you, Alex.
Why are you calling me a liar? Why are you calling me a liar?
I didn't see it.
That means you're calling me a liar.
Woj just said, he just tweeted, the tweet only says league sources also told ESPN.
That's on Bojan Bogdanovic.
Oh, is it? Is that just a reply to that? That's weird. Okay, so Bojan Bogdanovic, let's release his European white ass.
4 years, $73 million to the Jazz.
Oh, so much news is dropping now. Malcolm Brogdon. Indiana's trading a first round and 2 future second round picks to Milwaukee for Malcolm Brogdon. Holy shit. I mean, you know what? Honestly, I don't know if I can't definitively say he's worth it, but I think Malcolm Brogdon's a really, really good player, and I really want the Mavericks to sign him.
So I guess he agreed
to his restricted tender.
Yeah, but it says Malcolm Brogdon has agreed to a 4-year, $85 million deal with Indiana.
Huh.
So there's something complex here because you just mentioned, like what you mentioned, that Indiana is trading a first and 2 seconds for Brogdon.
So it sounds like a sign and trade then.
Yeah, it looks like it.
Okay, so sign and trade. Malcolm Brogdon's with the Indiana Pacers. Man, Malcolm Brogdon and Victor Oladipo is going to be fun to watch. But Malcolm Brogdon to the Pacers, that pisses me off, man. The one last ditch effort that I really thought that the Dallas Mavericks could make for a free agent was Malcolm Brogdon. And I loved the idea. I loved the fit of Malcolm Brogdon next to Luka Doncic and Kristaps Porzingis. He's shown in Milwaukee he can play off the ball. But then he can play on the ball too. He's still only 25 years old. He's an incredibly talented player, and I'm really, really sad to see him go to fucking Indiana now. That sucks. And Bogdanovic is going to the Utah Jazz, which he was good for the Pacers this year. We got more reports. God, all the tweets are coming down right now. Ricky Rubio.
It's starting to become crazy. Let's
reset. Let's reset and go back to the Rockets conversation while we let all this settle out.
Let's do that.
So what's the one move? What's the one move that you could see the Rockets making that is there anything that can help them compete with all of the moves that are happening right now?
Compete with just in terms of getting a guy
and
that's
compete,
available.
Yeah, any move, getting a guy or getting better.
I thought the move that hadn't been discussed but was going to happen was the Redick thing. Like I thought that they convince him to take the mid-level exception to come to Houston and be a 3-and-D guy, but perhaps a guy that would get just as many minutes, if not more than like PJ Tucker, because and they could be interchangeable, or for Eric Gordon. But that's obviously not happening. He's going to New Orleans, and look, he's proven to be as valuable a role player as there is in the NBA. So I can't fault him for taking the money to go play with a Pelicans team where he gets to be the veteran kind of leader guy in the locker room too. Yeah. So I don't fault him for that. I think the Rockets have been kind of missing the boat on looking for rebounding help. I mean, the thing is we're not going to be looking for that star player. I mean, if that star player happens, it's going to be via trade. And I don't know who that is other than Jimmy Butler in a sign and trade.
Yeah.
I don't know what other impact players out there that would even consider coming to Houston at this point, because Kawhi's a number one guy. Kawhi's not going to come and pair up with James Harden.
Right.
And there's already two guys that are alpha dogs in that locker room that have conflicting ideologies on how to play offense in Houston. You're not going to get someone else to play in that. Mm-hmm. So that's the big problem among kind of everything. So I'm at a loss right now, man, with the guys flying off the board. A lot of the point guards are out to get a guy to replace Chris Paul. If you found a taker for Chris Paul, although now we're hearing that he's not on the block anymore.
Yeah, I don't know what's going on, man. Like,
it's honestly kind of a mess right now.
Yeah, well, they've been a mess. There's so much miscommunication. There's miscommunication of what's happening. We don't know exactly what is and isn't happening within there, and they're saying, "Oh, it's just the media. The media is constructing all these things." Well, okay, the both of us working in the media and having the experience, that's not always true. They always try to paint us as the bad guys, but all we do is report the stuff that we hear. We don't just go out and say, oh, there's friction. I heard from somebody that talked directly to Tillman Fertitta that the relationship between Chris Paul and James Harden wasn't kosher. And I'm sorry, the person that I heard that from, I absolutely trust. Hands down, would never lie about something like that for any reason. And he heard it straight from the mouth of Tillman Fertitta, or as Bill Simmons calls him, Tillman Fertitta, which is my favorite name. But
Josh,
go ahead.
What if it's D'Angelo Russell
to the Rockets in a sign and trade?
Yes. What if Jimmy Butler says no? Can you make a play for D'Angelo Russell? And does that help? And does that help them moving forward?
Well, okay. Why would the Nets be motivated to do that when they already had the cap space and they're getting their guys, which they might be. I'm not saying that they're not, but why would they be? But B, D'Angelo Russell can say, "Oh, I can do a sign and trade."
Because this season's a loss for them. This season is a loss for them. If they play for a loss, they could play for a high. I would need to see what do they have their first round pick next year?
Mm-hmm. The Nets, I'm not sure. I'm not sure if they have their first round.
Because if the Nets have their first round pick next year, and you have a situation where only Kyrie is going to play with a bunch of dudes, maybe that becomes a more impactful thing for them to kind of not quote unquote tank, just like kind of tankish.
Yeah.
The other name that I was kind of throwing around the other day, in terms of, because remember I was telling you about rebounding, because they got out rebounded like crazy.
Oh yeah.
In that series against Golden State. What about Al Horford?
Oh, I would love that. That's a name I've thrown out there a ton of times. And if you wanted to try to work a sign and trade, and Capella was already interested in Boston, or Boston was already interested in Capella, you could give Boston a couple more role players after they got Kemba, and a couple of guys that could really help them out. But I don't know. Yeah, no, but the $8 million from Eric Gordon, the $7 million from Gordon, or whatever his contract is, $12 million, that's what it is. The $12 million for Gordon, the $8 million for PJ Tucker, plus the $16 million for Capella. You can make the salaries work. I think that'd be an incredible trade. I think Al Horford would fit perfectly. The only terrifying thing is you're giving a 4-year contract, a 4-year max contract to a guy who's 33 years old, which is a little scary. But to me, if you're going to make a drastic move and not just try to add pieces to the team you already have, then you're going for a drastic move. Al Horford was the one that I thought that they should do all along, because Al Horford would be an absolute perfect move for them. But I don't know. I don't know if they would be willing to give that long of a contract to a guy who's that old, because they already tried that experiment with Chris Paul, and it hasn't been the super best experiment that they've ever done. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. Like that's my only concern with that. Well, let's get to some comments real fast. Kyle said, "So we get House and Green. Way to go, Daryl. I like how Jimmy Butler says he wants to win, then signs with the Heat. LOL. That's actually kind of true. But the Heat aren't. I don't know that they're going to be terrible.
It's not done.
It's not done yet. Yeah. I heard from somebody
because here's the thing. It's got to come down to the teams being able to work a deal.
Right. Yep. Yeah. Because
the difference is like the Heat cannot sign him outright. It's not the situation like with LeBron to Cleveland a few back when he went back to Cleveland. Like Miami they did a sign and trade, but they didn't have to do a sign and trade.
Right.
He could have signed directly with the Cavs because they had the cap space to do it at the time.
So I'm trying to think. So you said D'Angelo Russell's a possibility. I just think he's going to the Lakers, and that's why I pulled up the roster for the Lakers, because I predicted the Lakers.
You think he's going to the Lakers?
Yeah, I think the Lakers miss out on Kawhi, and I think he goes back to the Lakers. I really, really do. It's a different situation with different players. He himself is a different player, obviously. I really do think he ends up with the Lakers, and then they've got a team of Kuzma, Russell Davis, and LeBron James, plus whatever other pieces they want to throw in there. But I think D'Angelo Russell ends up with the Lakers, because I think Kawhi, there's only two places, and for me right now, because I have no idea how this wackadoodle free agency is going to go, Kawhi is either going to stay in Toronto or he's going to go to the Clippers. It's only one of those two moves. I don't think there's anything else. I question, like, okay, so segueing into Kawhi Leonard, I just have a hard time understanding why he would want to leave Toronto. And I know he's from LA. I get it. But we always hear, well, the player wants to play in his hometown. Well, no, that's not always true, because they don't want to have to deal with all the bullshit that you have to deal with playing in your home city, where it's different people that you have to deal with and people asking for tickets and money and stuff. So that's not always the most appealing thing to players, although Kawhi Leonard is incredibly close to his family, so I don't know. So
My God.
What? Did we get another Woj bomb?
Brian Windhorst earlier on ESPN, I don't know how we missed this.
Yeah.
Hang on. No, wait. I'm gonna wait because somebody, I think. Go ahead. Sorry.
I'm gonna keep talking. You figure out if what you saw is true or not, because I want to know what it is. But Kawhi Leonard, I just don't like. He just won a championship with Toronto, and I don't see why he would want to go play for the Lakers and live in the shadow of LeBron James. One of the dudes from The Ringer was like, well, Kawhi Leonard would be the number one on that team. He'd clearly be the number one on that team. I'm like, dude, I don't care if he's the better scorer. I don't care if even if he is the better player right now. Anytime you're on a team with LeBron James, you're number two. I don't care who you are. You could be Kevin Durant, you could be Kawhi Leonard, you could be anybody. It doesn't matter. LeBron James is the king. He runs the league. You're always going to be number two to LeBron. And so if I'm Kawhi Leonard and I've won championships with two different teams, why in the hell do I want to go be LeBron James's number two for the next 3 or 4 years? Why not just sign a 1-1 with Toronto and then see what else is out there, or sign with the Clippers and go back home and be near my family? But the Lakers, I don't think, are a real option. I don't think there's any other team out there that's a real option. I think it comes down to the Toronto Raptors and the Clippers, and it's about, do you want to go build something in your hometown with the Clippers, or do you want to run it back with the Raptors, who you just won a championship with? And I really do think, at the end of the day, I know I have him on the Clippers right here on my screen, but at the end of the day, I think he ends up staying in Toronto. And so the Lakers will miss out on the big free agent, and that means that they're going to end up having to go with somebody like a D'Angelo Russell, which that's not. I mean, if that's their fallback plan, that's not a bad fallback plan at all. That's still a really good D'Angelo Russell on the Lakers. That's still going to make them. That's going to make them the best team in the Western Conference if they get D'Angelo Russell even. So I don't know. Where do you see Kawhi Leonard going?
To me, I've always felt that he would stay in Toronto. I just think too much happened there. Obviously, they won a title. He seemed to be ridiculously comfortable, and I want to say this too, as someone who's spent a little bit of time with Nick Nurse. Nick Nurse is a guy that really makes you buy in. Like, you buy into that guy. He's a guy that's been at the lowest of low-level coaching jobs. We're talking about a guy that once coached in the ABA as an assistant, volunteer assistant that had to wash the jerseys from game to game. A guy that had to drive the team bus from game to game. A guy that basically no one would hire him in the G League, so he found investors in Iowa to get the Iowa franchise started so he could coach it. Like, we're talking about a guy who – you talk about a pull-up-your-bootstraps guy – that is Nick Nurse. And guys just follow that dude, and he wins everywhere he goes. And I think I think Kawhi is going to figure out here, it's hard to find coaches like the two that he's been a part of,
right?
In terms of Popovich and Nurse. And those are two completely different guys with completely different personalities. And he's basically found, and I know I'm really pushing Nick Nurse here, and he's only been in the league 1 year, but he's won a title in 1 year. He's basically the opposite in terms of personality of Greg Popovich, but the success is the same. Why would he leave that situation where you're the beasts of the East to go be a sidekick for LeBron in LA?
Right.
Or and here's the thing. I've said this before. There's two things that would matter to me if I was a professional athlete. One is, where can I win?
Right. That'd be number one for me every single time.
And two, where can I pay the least income tax?
Yep.
Like, period, point play. It doesn't even matter what the salary is. And because I have the rest of my life, because I'm going to retire when I'm 35, 36 years old. I've got the rest of my life ahead of me. Why would I go somewhere that's going to keep me from putting up my nest egg? I can live wherever the heck I want in my retirement. Mm-hmm. That's not a problem because I don't got to work no more. But when I'm in the league making money, I want to make as much money as possible and potentially win as much as possible. And I don't think that's a possibility right now for him. I mean, he could win in LA for sure.
Right.
But is he going to be happy with the? I mean, we're talking about a guy who
at what level?
Left money on the table in San Antonio.
Yeah.
And he would have to leave money on the table in Toronto. I mean, we're talking. I just don't see it happening. I just don't see it happening. Him going to LA.
I don't either. And even if he does, like, even if LA is, if he's competitive with the Clippers, how competitive? Like, are they now? They were the 8 seed and they took the Warriors to a tough series, and it was great, awesome, wonderful, beautiful. That's cool. But are they the favorites to win? No. Like, they're I don't even know what they're, maybe the 4 or 5 seed in the Western Conference if he goes to the Clippers. So and you're talking about with the Raptors, they'd be the 2 or 3 seed depending on what happens with all these other teams. So it just doesn't make any sense to do that. It doesn't make any sense to leave all that behind. I'm just like, man, I just from a Rockets and Mavericks fan perspective, I'm just super pissed off at everything that's happening, really honestly. Because the Mavericks have you ever seen a team that just screws up so royally every single time they hit free agency? Because now they're in free agency again with max cap space. I thought things would change. I really did think things would change when they've got the reigning rookie of the year and Luka Doncic, who's going to be a legitimate star in this league for a while. And then Kristaps Porzingis there, who's also going to be a legitimate star in his own right for a while. And I just thought there was a chance that maybe they'd be able to lure some of these free agents. I thought Kemba was going to be a guy. There were rumblings that maybe they would at least get a meeting with Kawhi Leonard, and then none of that ended up happening. They've gotten absolutely nothing to fall their way. They've got nothing to happen, and it pisses me off that they've screwed up so royally. And at the other token, we've talked about the Rockets. It pisses me off that they've put themselves in such a shitty position. But like, why? If you're a player, and I know win now is really, really important, but if you're a player and you're one of these star players, why are you not at least considering the Dallas Mavericks, who have max cap space right now and 2 young superstars to help you out to win?
That's a tough question, man. Like, here's the thing about Dallas is I think they're fine as constructed. I think for me,
they re-signed Dwight Powell. What a great move. Good job, Donnie. Love it.
I mean, but here's the thing. At this point, you're looking for role players because they've got their guys, and one of them they've got is in his rookie contract. The other one they just re-signed in Porzingis, who obviously we haven't even seen him on the floor in Dallas. So let's call a spade here, and like, he's their free agent signing. Porzingis.
Yeah, he is, I guess.
He's their free agent signing. We've just already been conditioned with the fact that Dallas already has Porzingis, and they're going to have this dual matchup, and kind of, the torch has been passed from Dirk to these two guys, and I think they've got a pretty good roster going into next season, and I think they're going to be significantly better than they were this year, and they were pretty good. So I don't want to take anything away from what Dallas did to acquire Porzingis in the first place, so that they could be in this position to have his bird rights and be able to re-sign him.
Am I just being a salty fan? Is that it? I'm just being a salty, pissed off
because
fan.
I understand what it's like to be a part of free agent day and not see your. It was kind of like being an Astros fan in the '90s until they traded for Randy Johnson, because you never expect their name to crawl across the bottom of the screen as acquiring a guy at the trade deadline. It's the same thing with free agency. You're looking for your team, and you know that your names are only going to see Gerald Green and Daniel Houses of the world.
Right.
But potentially, like, they have the makings of the roster. You have to consider where teams like Brooklyn were before this year.
Right.
And what they needed to do and how they were setting themselves up. Because would you rather be in the Knicks situation where you work so hard to get into this situation and clear all the cap space so that you can compete and basically be told that Kevin Durant's coming your way,
right,
only for him to sign for the team that used to be in New Jersey, that's all of a sudden the best team in New York right now? Would you rather be in that position?
That was a stupid move from them in the first place, though, because it never made sense to be like, well, we're going to trade this young budding superstar away so we have cap room so we can entice guys to come. Like, so no, I absolutely would not want that. And yes, they are in a good place. It's just, I hate seeing, I don't need them making sign and trade deals. I don't need them making a bunch of moves, like just to like wheeling and dealing. But with max cap space and the ability to sign another superstar, I just would have. It's not the Mavericks not really going after anything, right? I'm just disappointed that more free agents didn't look at them and take them seriously and be like, well, maybe I should actually really consider going there. Maybe I should consider that. Like, would D'Angelo Russell fit with the Mavericks, right? Like Kemba Walker, I don't know how his fit would have been, but it would have been really nice to see how he and Luka Doncic synergized offensively. Now, defense would have been a bit of an issue between the two of them, but it would have been fun to watch. And it's just disappointing as a fan to sit there and just constantly have your team be the bridesmaid and never the bride. I don't remember how to play this game. I'm really bad at 2K now. This is terrible. Right. I'm playing as the Kristaps Porzingis and Luka Doncic led Mavericks against the vaunted Rockets. With only old-ass Chris Paul and James Harden. That's it. That's all they've got. Gerald Green's starting right now. Out of bounds. What are you talking about? So what are some of your predictions for some of the free agents that are left available? What are your biggest predictions at this point?
Here's the thing. Like, all of this comes down to what happens with Kawhi, because I think it seems like the Lakers and the Clippers that want to make some moves here, a lot of guys are in a holding pattern. Guys like Patrick Beverley, for instance. Like, what happens with Patrick Beverley? Because like guys like Patrick Beverley, Danny Green, I'm trying to think who else is out there. Harrison Barnes has already signed. Right. Has Thaddeus Young signed yet?
I don't think he's officially signed yet, but I know he was close.
Like D'Angelo Russell, all those guys kind of come down to what happens with Kawhi first, because there are other teams, because those teams that would be going after those guys as kind of higher priced role players want to see what Kawhi and potentially Jimmy Butler are doing first before they can commit that cap space. And for those guys, there's opportunities for them to cash in, especially with teams that have significant cap space that they need to spend.
Right. It's just about letting those dominoes fall, and that's almost always how NBA free agency works out. Is when do the big dominoes fall? I think it's a kind of a treat tonight to already know where Kevin Durant's going, because it used to be you kind of already knew where everybody was going to go, like beforehand, like what's happening this year. But LeBron James's decision kind of changed that, and guys started taking a little bit longer to make their decision, and now you're starting to see it this year be a little bit quicker. So I'm glad the Kevin Durant decision's out of the way already. I'm just really, really, really intrigued and interested to see what happens with Kawhi Leonard, because once the Kawhi Leonard domino drops, that's when we're really going to start to see everything else take off. We're going to start to see all of these other moves that guys make. But the NBA, Do you think that this is going to create more parity or more problems with these guys continuing to team up in different places? Because part of me thinks that, yeah, hey, cool, that there's more parity now, but I'm not positive that there is. I feel like it's just going to be super top heavy, and it's still going to screw over the smaller market teams.
I mean, the NBA has always been super top heavy. It's not like this isn't a new thing. What it does create is kind of new, but here's the thing, Josh. I like it when new teams are involved in the discussion. Like it's been cool to see the Raptors be good.
Well, and the Warriors too, to an extent, right? Like, I know everybody is tired of the Warriors now, but they weren't a part of the conversation until they started putting teams together.
Exactly. They were they were good but weren't great for a couple of years before they got great. So to be able to see Brooklyn in the conversation is going to be super interesting, I think, moving forward for the next couple of years. I mean, they tried to do it when they acquired all the older guys with Kevin Garnett and Paul Pierce after the Celtics dynasty, and it has never worked out. They've never really been a team that's kind of on the cusp of winning an NBA title. But now you can see them really competing in the East. Like all of a sudden too, man, the East. Remember for years, for 15, 20 years, we were talking about, the East is terrible. Oh, you're just going to blow through the East.
Yeah.
You could make the argument that 5 of the 8 best teams in the NBA are in the East.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. And that's something that the East used to be a joke. And it's not a joke anymore. The East has to be taken seriously. There were times where it's like, well, okay, even as early as a few years ago, where you're like, oh, whoever makes it out in the West between the Rockets and the Warriors, it's an instant championship for them. It's an instant win because the East is such a joke. But it's not. It's not a joke anymore. We have another MVP coming out. The Bucks are just going to get better. I think them being able to keep Chris Middleton is huge. And now with Brogdon gone, don't they have even more cap space to kind of work the team and get better?
Yeah.
Yeah, so the Bucks are going to keep getting better. I'm interested in the future of the 76ers, losing J.J. Redick, losing Jimmy Butler, Ben Simmons. How much better can he get? How good can the 76ers really be moving forward? Can Joel Embiid grow up and find some more consistency?
Hang on. They were one Kawhi Leonard jumper away from going to the Eastern Conference
Final.
That's
fair. That's absolutely fair, but they're losing two really important players to them being able to do that. Like J.J. Redick and Jimmy Butler meant so much to what they do, especially in the playoffs. So can they retool to go back there? Like that's my biggest question.
It kind of depends on what happens with Jimmy Butler in terms of what can they acquire. And here's the thing: is that we sometimes look at free agency in a vacuum, and we don't look at it from a macro perspective. Like Philadelphia is all about thinking about the future. So whatever they get from Miami, they're thinking about from a perspective of, okay, what pieces can we use in a deal later?
Right.
They think a lot like Houston in that regard. So what we think about now with what's going on with the Rockets may not come into play until the trade deadline.
Right.
Same thing could be happening with Philly, because Philly knows they're going to be in the discussion. They just don't. They're just not It's not like they're luring one of the top free agents, so they're not going to. I mean, hell, Danny Green's on the market. They could go get Danny Green. To replace JJ Redick.
That's true.
And all of a sudden, you've weakened your competition, the team that beats you, and you've significantly improved your team. You know what I'm saying? So there are pieces out there that they can get. They've got the significant pieces, minus Jimmy Butler, but they can make up for that. And there's ways for guys like Ben Simmons and Joel Embiid to be better and more significant moving forward now that Butler's not. Because remember, Butler wasn't part of the equation until they had traded for him, and they were still a pretty good franchise. So I'm not too concerned about the Philadelphia 76ers. But I want to go back to the East comment here. Okay. Toronto's your NBA champions. Milwaukee was in the Eastern Conference Finals with a young Giannis and has the MVP of the league and a lot of great role players and a great head coach over there in Milwaukee. Philadelphia is going to be good. They were in the Eastern semifinals. Boston all of a sudden gotten significantly better in my opinion, because you got a cancer out of there in Kyrie who just didn't fit in with that group, and you bring in a guard like Kemba Walker who probably actually is kind of a Celtics type of player. you're concerned about the way that team plays defense. Oh, and by the way, Brooklyn just got Kevin Durant.
Yeah, man, I haven't thought about it like that, like amongst the entire landscape of it. Just the addition of Kemba Walker to Boston, and then the Nets being as good as they are, man, the Eastern Conference is going to be a lot of fun to watch next year. Those playoffs are going to be fun.
And we're not talking about other teams that have been on the cusp for a little while,
right?
Trying to make a move forward. I think Orlando is going to be better next year.
Yeah, especially with that Aminu addition. Yeah,
I think Atlanta is going to be better next year. You get another year out of Trae Young.
Mm-hmm.
There's just some interest. Charlotte's not going to be good next year. You can take kind of them out of the situation. The Knicks are obviously going to be bad, but I mean there are other teams in the East, and obviously Jimmy Butler if he goes to Miami, all of a sudden Miami's got 2 or 3 significant pieces there that could make a little bit of noise. They're probably not a contender, but they're certainly an interesting team that can beat teams, especially teams in the West.
Yeah, they at least are a fun team to watch in the Eastern Conference. They're kind of like they've got a star player and then some young guys around him. And I've always loved Goran Dragic too. I'll never not like his game because he's a lot of fun to watch. Wish he was still in Houston. Man, I am absolute shit. Look, this shows me right now that the Mavericks needed another star because Luka Doncic and Kristaps Porzingis are not going to cut it. If NBA 2K19 is any indication of what their season's going to be like. Damn it, Alex.
You're in the second quarter of one game.
I'm in the second quarter of one game, and it's not going well. Luka Doncic does not
Also,
is
Doncic going to get rid of the T-shirt underneath the jersey thing?
I hope he never does. I hope he keeps that for the rest of forever. It's awesome. You don't like it?
All it does is give efficacy to the whole sleeve jerseys that Adidas tried for.
The sleeve jerseys were awesome, man.
What are you talking about?
I love those. Yeah, I liked those.
Why?
I don't know.
Why did you love?
I thought they looked cool.
You can't like something without having a reason.
I thought they looked nice. That's my reason. Do I have to have any other reason?
Nice.
I did think they looked nice. You can't just sit there and make fun of me for saying that I thought that they looked nice. I thought they were good-looking jerseys, and I'm allowed to have that opinion. If he doesn't make this shot, I'm going to throw my controller. Okay, I'm not actually going to throw my controller. I shouldn't have said that.
All right, so we've talked about the East. Let's talk about the West a little bit here. We've kind of dotted with the Rockets and the Mavs, but how about kind of everybody else? The Clippers are kind of still playing a waiting game right now, and they're a team
in a holding pattern.
They're a team that was better than they were supposed to be last year, and that's mostly because of Doc Rivers. How about let's see, the Lakers. The Lakers are going to be
the best team in the Western Conference.
You think that?
I have no doubt in my mind because I'm telling you, I'm convinced they're getting D'Angelo Russell, and if they get D'Angelo Russell, they will be the best team in the Western Conference. If they don't, then it's going to be a toss up between them and the Warriors.
So here's the other thing. Denver was the number 2 seed this year, and no one's talking about them at all.
Yeah, well, and I just saw something that they're working on a contract extension possibly with Jamal Murray right now too, which I think it's huge to get him locked up because if he improves, Denver's. I forgot about Denver. I don't think that Denver's close, but they're not quite there though.
No, they're not quite there, but they're a team they're like Portland of the mid '90s, where they're going to be good every year and be a top 4 seed, but they're never going to win a title.
Right.
At least as currently constructed. Although I like Mike Malone a lot as a coach, and I thought he made great adjustments when he was out coached the first 4 or 5 games of that San Antonio series, and then made great adjustments in game 6 and 7 to get them through. Look, San Antonio I think is going to be better this year. I think.
Yeah, they just they that's another free agent signing we haven't talked about yet. They re-signed Rudy Gay to 2 years, $32 million.
He was a really solid player this year when a lot of folks thought he was over the hill. I know they've got some old pieces, but remember also that they're getting some pieces back from injury this past year. We've seen the ascent of some of their players. I thought they had a pretty decent draft, although I think both of those guys will spend significant time. Well, I think the European player will play significant minutes in Austin. I think the kid they got from Kentucky.
Yeah.
I think he's going to be a role player right away. There's a bunch of really smart basketball people that think that are like shocked that he went in basically the last pick of the first round. Like, how did that happen? So
they get lucky.
The Spurs are getting better.
They get lucky all the time with stuff like that. Every single draft they get lucky with moves like that, and it pisses me off. Okay, so let's try to rank playoff teams in the Western Conference, because I think the Western Conference is a little bit clearer, a little bit more solidified for how it's going to be. Or let's just do top 5. Who we think the top 5 Western Conference teams are going to be. For me, number one is the Lakers. I think even if you put them tied with even if you put them tied with the Warriors, they don't get D'Angelo Russell or they don't get another free agent, then I still put them at number 1, but it's a lot closer than what people would think. So I'm going to put them at number 1. Warriors number 2. Nuggets number 3.
Still?
Warriors number 2? Yeah, I think still.
Okay.
It's just the Warriors. Until I see them not being as good, then I can't say that they're not going to be one of the best teams in the league. They still have Steph. They still have Draymond. Clay is going to come back in about February. That's going to be the biggest test, is how can they move on without Clay for almost half the season. But I still trust the Warriors to be number 2. Number 3 is the Nuggets, easily the Nuggets. Number 4 is the Rockets, but barely. And then number 5, Number 5, I'll have the Trailblazers. I was having a hard time deciding between the Trailblazers and the Clippers. Now, it's all contingent on what happens with Kawhi. If Kawhi goes to the Clippers, then I change those rankings up a little bit, right? But my 5, it's going to be Lakers, Warriors, Nuggets, Rockets, Trailblazers. That's my top 5.
I mean, you're giving significant praise to Anthony Davis.
I am. I think
LeBron James pairing.
Anthony Davis is an absolute stud.
When neither of those guys were in the playoffs last year.
That's fair. But Anthony Davis, Anthony Davis, when he's healthy and happy and on the court for his team, is one of the best 4 players in the entire NBA.
I don't disagree with that. But to me, I'm a show me guy, because here's the thing. There was a point last year, I want to say it was like in January, where the Lakers had won something like 8 of 11 or 8 of 10 or something like that, and they were the 4th seed, and everyone was thinking, because the Warriors were struggling at the time, man, this could be a top 2 team in the West if they keep this up.
Yep.
And then all of a sudden the bottom fell out. Everyone was terrible, and to see a LeBron James led team just go into oblivion in the blink of an eye, just kind of opened my eyes to the fact that the competition is just significantly tougher on a daily basis for LeBron in the West.
Oh, it absolutely is.
I know that he's adding another superstar, so he's not carrying the load a little bit, and they jettisoned some pieces that perhaps that they didn't want. But at the same time, they got their 5th choice at head coach, because no one wanted that job. They've got a general manager that doesn't understand how the salary cap works. They have kind of jettisoned a lot of the pieces over the years that they honestly should have kept if they want to consider this. And if they don't get Kawhi Leonard, that big 3 that they want to have happen, where Kawhi's actually the 1 and LeBron's probably the 3 in this scenario, believe it or not, I just don't see it happening. So I'm a little weary about moving LeBron or moving the Lakers into a position where they're the best team in the Western Conference based on one move to get a malcontent center out of New Orleans and bring him into Los Angeles.
Yes. So last year he was malcontent, but what about the year before, when he looked like one of the most ungodly players in the entire NBA as he forced the Pelicans' way into the playoffs?
And where did the Pelicans finish?
But they still fit. They were in the playoffs, but he didn't have what help did he have? That was the year he had Rajon Rondo. Ooh, Rondo. He was really moving the needle for them then. Who else did he have? He had Boogie, and he and Boogie looked like one of the best 1-2 punches that the NBA's seen in a long time. But Boogie got
a healthy Boogie Cousins on the team.
No, he only had a healthy Boogie Cousins for the first half of the year. That was when Boogie Cousins got hurt, and they looked like they were going to be one of the top 5 teams in the entire league. And then Boogie got hurt, and he had nobody with him. But we were watching Anthony Davis put up 30 and 20 games, and it was absolutely insane whenever he was actually out there and happy and playing. He looked like one of the best players we've seen in a really long time. And people already forget that because he played in New Orleans. And nobody gives a shit about New Orleans. But now he's in LA with LeBron James. You can't tell me that that team isn't going to look like one of the best teams in the freaking league. And if not the best team in the Western Conference. They're going to be really good. And so maybe they're not number one. And maybe I'm overvaluing it a little bit. But I'll be damned if they're not going to fight for it. If they're not going to be close just with those two guys and whatever. And Kuzma's still there too. And then if they add D'Angelo Russell...
I get all of that, but I'm not ready on 6:00 on Sunday, June the 30th, to say that they're the best team in the Western Conference when that team wasn't in the playoffs last year. It has a brand new head coach, an aging superstar player, and a guy in Anthony Davis that is a tremendous player, and an MVP caliber player in terms of talent, but has never shown me the ability to kind of lead his team past a certain level of competency or success. In the same way I would have criticized Damian Lillard before this past year.
Right.
Damian Lillard was a first round and out type of guy. And he made the Blazers significantly better this past year. Obviously it didn't end well in the Western Conference Finals for him, but he had the Blazers in the conference finals. And I think that's something that we need to consider in all of this, is all of these teams in the West beat the Lakers.
Yeah.
And they're not
fair.
afraid of the Lakers, and they're not afraid of LeBron. And that's kind of my point in that. So do you want to give your East, or do you want me to do the West now?
No, do your West. Do your West, and then we'll give the East.
All right. So can I do them in no particular order? Do you want them ranked?
No, you don't have to rank them. No particular order is fine.
All right. So my 5 would probably be Houston, Golden State. I would probably put LA at 5, and that's that only because of the respect I have for LeBron and for Anthony Davis. Golden State's still going to be there because it's still mostly the team, that won title before Kevin Durant got there.
Right.
So Houston, Golden State, the Lakers, and I'd have to stick with Denver and Portland at this point.
Yeah. So do we have the same 5 in no particular order? We at least have the same 5. Denver's going to be really good, man.
I mean, the one that I think can drop out of that is Denver.
Yeah.
And I can see Dallas moving into that spot.
Ooh.
I can see New Orleans really surprising people and moving into that spot if Zion is the player that we all think he is and can be.
Yeah, there's a part of me that kind of wanted to put. I was thinking about New Orleans. But I just can't do it, not until we see what Zion's going to be. Now, if they can pull off... who did they already pull in? They already pulled in J.J. Redick. If they could pull off Al Horford too, then I feel a lot more comfortable with the idea of putting the Pelicans in the top 5.
So Tobias Harris has agreed to a 5-year, $180 million deal return to Philadelphia.
No! That was like my last final one beacon of hope with the Mavericks signing somebody was Tobias Harris. And honestly, Tobias Harris would have been a really, really fun fit alongside Luka Doncic, but damn it, man.
Yeah.
That's all right. I just don't know where else to go.
Philly's going to be fine. Philly is going to be fine.
Yeah, Philly is going to be just fine. Let's do the Eastern Conference now. I'll start off.
Wait, give me your 2 teams that could end up in that top 5 in the West first before you do
the 2 teams that could end up in the top 5. I want to say Dallas. I feel like it's a little bit of my bias coming through, but I really do want to say Dallas just because Luka's going to be another year better. Out of bounds my ass. Fuck you, physics of the game that don't let me control whatever. Anyway, sorry. I think Dallas could with Luka Doncic and Kristaps Porzingis if Kristaps stays healthy and can actually play depending on how they retool. I don't love the idea of Dwight Powell being the starting center the entire year. That kind of bothers me, but I guess he won't really have to be, and maybe he'd play the 4 and Kristaps will play the 5. I don't know how they're going to do things. The other team, I could see the Pelicans moving in, possibly, and I don't know. There's no other team. I really feel like the Mavericks will probably end up staying in that 6 to 8 seed area in the Western Conference. You know what? Another team that I could see kind of move, like the Thunder could move into the top 5 easily, and the Kings.
Wow, I'm just kind of noticing how how deep the West is.
The Western Conference is insane.
Because San Antonio was still good, and
Utah's even better,
and they're getting Murray back.
Yeah.
Utah just lost Ricky Rubio, so.
Well, and they got Mike Conley. But so
that's true.
Yeah, so they've got Mike Conley now. Like they're going to be a really, really good team. And they just got Bogdanovich. Like that's a really good pickup for them too. So it's gonna. Oh no!
Oh no! What?
Oh no! The game. I said oh no because I accidentally passed it instead of shooting.
Okay,
it.
quit commentating on your game and let's break down the NBA as we see it. Okay, so let's move to the Eastern Conference now. I think the top 5 is pretty easy and solidified here, but just so that everyone has an illustration, I'm going to pull up the NBA standings at the end of last year so that everyone knows where teams are. And my computer's moving really, really slow. But it was Bucks, Raptors, Sixers, Celtics, Pacers. I don't think there's much of a change in that, except Brooklyn is in that conversation with a healthy Kevin Durant.
Yeah.
They're not without a healthy Kevin Durant, although they were 6th already in that list just based on the team they had last year. But that's a team that was led by D'Angelo Russell, who's no longer there. I think so. If I had to go, I'm going to go in order on my East.
Okay.
I'm going to put as of right now, I'm going to assume Kawhi Leonard stays in Toronto.
Right.
So I'm going to go Raptors 1, Celtics 2, Bucks 3, Celtics 4, Brooklyn 5, Pacers 6.
Who are the 2 teams that could sneak in?
There's the Pacers.
The Pacers.
The Hornets got worse. The Magic are a question mark still for me. Mm-hmm. Miami, maybe if they get Jimmy Butler here, but to me that's not a team that I really like all that much. The Wizards are a train wreck. The Hawks may get better, but I don't know if they'll get significantly better to the point that they're a top 5 team in the East. The Bulls, Cavs, and Knicks are all terrible.
Yeah, the Knicks might end up being the worst team in NBA history, right? Like if they're they've got Dennis Smith Jr., they've got Kevin Knox, RJ Barrett's probably RJ Barrett with the Knicks and no other stars has a legitimate chance to win Rookie of the Year over Zion. Mm-hmm. That's gonna be kind of interesting to watch, is to see if he can do that. So the Knicks are gonna be the worst team ever. My top 5. Now I'll do mine in order.
I don't know. Pelicans are in the playoffs, man, and Zion's the leading scorer on the team. It's going to be hard not to give it to him.
It's going to be interesting to see. I'm still kind of working under the assumption that Al Horford's going to be a Pelican, and then they'll have Horford and Redick, and he might still be the leading scorer, but I don't know, man. Yeah, if they're like a playoff team and he's scoring a bunch, it's going to be hard to say that he doesn't deserve to be the Rookie of the Year. But okay, so my Eastern Conference teams, my top 5 in the Eastern Conference, in from 1 to 5. Number 1 for me, I'm gonna put the Celtics there. I really love the way Kemba Walker fits with that Celtics team. I don't imagine if Jason Tatum is going to be the player we thought he was going to be. I can't imagine that Jason Tatum would spend another year of not being what he was and what we saw him be with the Celtics 2 years ago and in the playoffs. So Jason Tatum, Jaylen Brown, Kemba Walker. It depends on what other moves the Celtics can make. But I've got them. You know what? I've got them as number 2. I'm gonna say Kawhi stays with the Raptors, and with Kawhi and Siakam and Kyle Lowry, it's hard to say that they don't deserve to be number 1. So I'm gonna say number 1 Raptors, number 2 Celtics, number 3 Bucks, number 4 I'm gonna put the Nets. And then number 5, I'm going to put the 76ers. I think the 76ers take a step back. It's just how much better can you get whenever you're like Ben Simmons can't shoot. And I don't trust Joel Embiid not to continue to be a super inconsistent big man. And really kind of a head case too.
I mean that's fair.
I'm not going to choose a team that can sneak in either because they all suck. There's no team that can sneak in.
Yeah, they still almost beat the NBA champions in the conference semifinals.
They did, but I'm also working under the assumption that they don't have Jimmy Butler and JJ Redick, and both of those guys were 2 really big pieces. Now, maybe keeping Tobias Harris could be huge.
Hang on, listen to this. Ramona Shelburne just tweeted this out. The Knicks The Knicks and owner James Dolan were not prepared to offer Kevin Durant a full max contract due to concerns over his recovery from the Achilles injury. League sources tell her and Adrian Wojnarowski Knicks officials are in Los Angeles tonight meeting with free agents such as Julius Randle.
Oh, fuck. Oh, fuck. Oh, no. Oh, could you have Dolaned it anymore, Dolan? Oh, my God, dude.
Can you believe that? Like, I understand the concerns. Like, it's obvious.
Yeah.
But you're already the Knicks.
Right,
you're
exactly.
already the Knicks. Like, you're not even in the discussion right now. And if you can get Kevin Durant locked in, first of all, if he doesn't play again, there's insurance to pay for that. Second of all, you're James Dolan. Like, you're telling me you can't pay that out?
That's insanity. Like, you literally, if you offer Kevin Durant that max, there's a chance you could still convince Kyrie to come play for your team. But you got rid of your biggest asset and your best player because you wanted to go all in for Kevin Durant. So go all in for him. Don't sit there and pussyfoot around and play games because he got injured. He's still Kevin Durant. So, like, honestly, not signing him and then trading away your best player and the future of your franchise. Imagine if they still had Kristaps Porzingis and RJ Barrett now.
So Stephen A. Smith
says God, dude.
Noise is elevating for Kawhi Leonard and Jimmy Butler to the Clippers together.
I would be very interested in that. I've been thinking about that nonstop because we had the news the other day that Kawhi and KD were talking about playing together, and then just ever so briefly somebody posted something about, apparently Kawhi and Jimmy Butler are talking about playing together in LA. And if Jimmy, I like that fit between the two of them. Like, for some reason, I love the fit between those two guys. With Montrezl Harrell already there, and some of the other pieces that they've got, Danilo Gallinari, that could be an incredibly dangerous team in the Western Conference. The West is so deep, dude. The West is going to be a nightmare to try to get through for any team. I will at the Eastern. Everybody in the Eastern Conference, the top teams of the Eastern Conference have to be like, thank God we're over here, because the West is going to be an absolute nightmare. Bobby Marks says Philadelphia is going to leave $22 million Tobias Harris free agent hold counting against the cap before they sign the forward. The Harris number projects to start at $31 million. $31 million a year for Tobias Harris. Is that worth it? So my thought with Tobias Harris the entire time is I really like him as a player. I think he's very good. And I would have loved the fit on the Mavericks with Luka Doncic, but is he worth $30 million a year? And I know it's kind of different because everything's a little inflated right now, but there's kind of part of me that's just kind of cringes at the idea of paying Tobias Harris that much money.
I mean, the cap is only going to keep going up, and
right.
And here's the thing: those annual salaries are based on percentages of the cap,
right,
and how many years you are in the league. So that's why people don't understand. It's not like you can say so and so is worth this much money. Like we're in the NBA, like you have to start thinking out of the box as a fan, as to terms of how the dollars work. It's not necessarily all about worth. It's about where I fit in a percentage of the cap in a given year, and in terms of how good of a player is. Look, he's a 20-point per game guy. He's an 8 rebound per game guy. I mean, is he one of the top 20 players in the league?
No.
Probably not, but
he's close, but he's not.
Is he a top 30 player in the league? Yes.
Right. Yeah.
And there's 30 NBA teams, and if every team got a max player, then yeah, he is worth it.
Yeah, I kind of like, it just makes me uneasy. Like if I'm a GM or I'm a fan, it makes me uneasy if my team's paying him $30 million a year. But if he helps you win a championship and he fits your team, like the 76ers are better for keeping Tobias Harris. There's no doubt about that. They're not worse for keeping Tobias Harris. And so if you have to pay that much money to keep him, then you pay that much money to keep him.
How much is Chris Paul making this year? Too much.
$1 billion. It's roughly $14 billion.
And he's 34?
Yeah.
35? All right, Tobias Harris is 26.
Right. Yeah, that's true. That's fair. That's fair. And he's still. I don't know that Tobias Harris has still reached the pinnacle of what he can be as a scorer.
He's played in Milwaukee when Milwaukee was bad.
Did he play in Milwaukee? He played in Milwaukee?
Yes.
I totally forgot about that.
He was 19. He played in Milwaukee in the 2012 season.
That's right. Damn, man.
He's played in Orlando when Orlando's been bad.
Yeah.
And he's played in Detroit. So, like, really, we've only seen the true value of Tobias Harris as a player these last 2 seasons in the NBA.
Yeah.
With the Clippers and with Philly. So, I mean, to me, he's a player that's hitting his prime as opposed to someone that's not hitting
his prime. Yeah, that's absolutely fair. That's a lot of money, man. Maybe that's the thing is the cap keeps going up and the cap keeps going higher. I think by the time we hit the 2021 free agent list, which is going to have guys like Giannis Antetokounmpo, they're projecting the cap to be around like $120 million, which is just absolute insanity. And we're going to see contracts that are like $45 to $50 million a year. That's absolutely nuts to me. But like, I don't know. That's why when people talk about Capella making the money that he's making, and
Capella's an absolute bargain.
He is a steal.
An absolute bargain.
He's a steal. Like, you could be paying him $30 million a year. He is good enough to be paid $30 million a year. Like, Capella is every bit worth the amount of that Tobias Harris is worth, and he's making half that. And so that's why they'd be stupid to get rid of him, even though I have my hangups with Clint Capella, but the Rockets would be stupid to get rid of him. And he's a bargain based off of how much players could be making in these cap figures right now. So, they've got it for the next few years.
Well, here's the other thing that people need to keep in mind. There's a salary floor in the NBA.
Yeah.
And the salary floor in the NBA is 90% of the salary cap. Mm-hmm. So you have to be between spending all of the cap or 90% of the cap.
Yep.
For your team salary. So you have to be there. That salary cap for last season, or the salary floor for last season, was $91 million.
Real quick news. DeMarre Carroll has agreed with the San Antonio Spurs. So DeMarre Carroll goes from he was once a good addition to a Hawks team, and now he's going to go back to being a good addition to a Spurs team, because that's what the Spurs do. They sign free agents and then they freaking figure out how to make them work. DeMarre Carroll with the Spurs official. Does that move the needle for you at all? You know he's going to end up being some badass player for them.
I like that move, man.
I do too. It's not one of those moves that really does anything for you if you're a fan, or it's not one of those moves if you're just like a general NBA fan. Oh shit, by the way, I just beat the Rockets 54-52 final score. Oh, get wrecked, Alex. Get wrecked. Mavericks are winning the championship. Book it.
DeMarre Carroll last season with Brooklyn as their backup forward. He's essentially a younger Nene.
Yeah.
And he's backing up LaMarcus Aldridge.
Yeah, and he's signing. We just talked about contracts. He's signing a 2-year, $12 million deal per Shams and the Athletic. So $6 million a year for a role player like that that's an absolute steal. Nerlens Noel has also agreed to on a deal to return to the Oklahoma City Thunder. That's a good move for them. Nerlens Noel is a good backup center. He's a good backup guy. Yep. Like that, all these teams out there making smart moves, man. All these teams out there making smart moves, and I just don't see a single move that the Rockets can make that can make them better. Not a single one. But how much is Danny Green going to cost though, and what would they have to give up for him?
I'm just saying Danny Green or D'Angelo Russell at this point.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like
if Daryl Morey is true to his word and says we are going to be players and we are going to make an impact in free agency, there's only a couple of players left that can do that. Even though Danny Green is not Kawhi Leonard and he's not Jimmy Butler, Danny Green makes that team significantly better.
Yeah.
Significantly better. Danny Green is a multi-time NBA champion.
Yes.
He's a defender. A defender like this team doesn't have, other than PJ Tucker, that could give you more perimeter defense like when they had Trevor Ariza. Oh, and by the way, he's not like Trevor Ariza in terms of his streaky year-to-year three-point shooting. He's a solid three-point shooter and a guy that just came off an NBA title. Like, Danny Green makes you one of the top 2 teams in the West. as currently constructed. Except the problem is they'd have to lose Clint Capella to probably get him.
Yeah, that and to
unless
me,
he takes the MLE, which I doubt he'll do.
I doubt he takes the MLE, and I don't know how much. Man, Bobby Marks had like a list of the projected amount of salaries that these guys would all be making, and I can't freaking find it on his Twitter now. And it was the best thing that I've seen all day.
The Rockets only have $2.9 million left in their mid-level exception because they re-signed Daniel House.
Oh yeah, I didn't even think about the fact that they did that using their MLE. Well, shit. So they really, unless they get rid of, now they could make a Danny Green move work if they get rid of, if they do it in like a sign and trade and get rid of Eric Gordon and PJ Tucker. But is it worth getting rid of both of those guys for Danny Green?
I'd get rid of Eric Gordon.
I have a major problem with getting rid of Eric Gordon, and I don't know why. I don't want them to get rid of Eric Gordon at all. I think Eric Gordon means so much to what they do offensively off of the bench and whenever he's out there with the starters. And maybe Danny Green can be that guy for you, but the way Eric Gordon creates his own shot and creates offense, Danny Green can't do that. He's just a catch and shoot guy. So not having Eric Gordon worries me if I'm the Rockets. Should it? Mm-hmm. Am I being like should I let that worry me at all?
I don't know, but Kyle Lowry. Did you know Kyle Lowry's making $33 million next year?
Yeah. And you can tell he spends.
And Marcus all opted into his $25 million a year.
Oh, did he really?
Serge Ibaka makes $23 million a year.
Some of those guys are going to be on the move. If Kawhi doesn't stay, you better believe that those guys are going to be on the move. Here's an interesting wrinkle in the we talked about just a few minutes ago about that or Stephen A. Smith had the tweet saying that things are heating up in a talk about Kawhi Leonard and Jimmy Butler joining forces with the Clippers. So here's a really, really interesting situation. The Clippers would need to shed Danilo Gallinari's $22.6 million salary to open up enough spots for 2 max free agents. So if Kawhi and Jimmy Butler wanted to play together for the Clippers, the Clippers would have to get rid of Danilo Gallinari. Danilo Gallinari, I think, is a really, really good player. I love what he did for the Clippers last year. He's a guy where everybody thought he was going to be this great 3-and-D guy, especially a 3-point sharpshooter, and it kind of took a while for him to come into his own when he was with the Nuggets. But playing with the Clippers, he's been a really good player for them. What do you think would be the best fit for Danilo Gallinari if they wanted to move on from him to shed his salary to a team that has cap space? What team do you think would be the best fit for Gallinari? I have one in mind. You'll never guess what team I think it is. But I mean, a guy who averaged almost 20 points per game last year. His player efficiency rating was 21. He had over 6 rebounds, almost 3 assists. Like, he is a good all-around player. He can play the 3, he can play the 4, he can play both of those forward spots. He shoots the 3-pointer at over 40%. He would be an absolute steal if the Mavericks could get him from the Clippers. If Kawhi and Jimmy Butler decide they want to go play in LA together. The Mavericks need to be the team to say, hey, we'll take Gallinari's contract. Come on, you need to shed salary. Bring the big Italian man over here. We want him on our team. But what team do you think would be the best fit for Danilo Gallinari?
The other 2 Texas teams. I mean, dude, any of the 3 Texas teams.
Could you? Oh man, imagine if he went to the Spurs. That would piss me off. Like if
don't you think he's the perfect Spur?
He is.
Like, isn't he the perfect Spur?
He so is. That's why I said it, because it's like you just hear his name, you're like, Danilo Gallinari. It just sounds like he's a Spur already. But he would fit so perfect on the Rockets too. Imagine having him at the 4. If you have Capella at the 5 and Danilo Gallinari playing power forward. And then PJ, and then you can honestly split him and PJ Tucker at the 2 forward spots, depending on what you need. That'd be an incredible get.
Okay, Danny Green is off the board.
Oh, where'd he go?
Hang on,
man.
Well,
I'm trying to look at this. So, you know what? Are you surprised Harrison Barnes stayed with the Sacramento Kings while you keep looking at that? Because I kind of am. I guess I'm not, because they've got a lot of young talent. They need a veteran leader, a guy who can score. But I'm kind of really. I was a little taken aback that Harrison Barnes he decided to opt out of his player option, and then he just re-signed with the Kings. I thought for sure that meant he was going to go somewhere else.
Say again there.
No,
Josh.
were you surprised that Harrison Barnes stayed with the Kings?
No,
Harrison
because
Barnes
I think
is staying with the Kings.
No, because Harrison Barnes he's already done the championship thing. Like
yeah, that's fair.
Like he when you're a player like Harrison Barnes, and you're not a top 20, 25, 30 player in the league, but you're going to get paid like one.
Yeah.
Like you just take the money, man. Take the money. I
mean,
mean,
he took less money, right? He could have opted in to his player option. I guess more money over a longer period of time.
More money over a long period of time. Yeah.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Exactly.
Yeah, so I guess if you look at it from that viewpoint, I'm not that surprised. But I just thought for sure whenever he opted out, that meant that he was going to go somewhere else. So I found that what I was looking for, Bobby Marks' projected starting salary for all the free agents, and he seems to be pretty spot on with the ones that he's called so far. Hey, you know what? Backup point guard that can create a little bit of offense, and he's good at distributing. Would you turn your nose up at JJ Barea as a veteran minimum contract for the Rockets?
Hell no. I've been wanting Morey to sign JJ Barea for a decade. Like I've wanted him to be the backup point guard for this team for a long time. I love JJ Barea.
I do too.
He's been one of my favorite NBA players. Not just because he's Latino, but just because he's a guy that he came really out of nowhere. He played in the D League when the D League was just a farce, and earned an opportunity to play in the NBA. And he's become one of the best point guards in the NBA, backup point guards in the NBA for the course of his career. And he's a serviceable NBA player and a guy that can really help solidify a locker room as well.
He wasn't that great when he went to Minnesota, but his 2 stints in Dallas, he's been very, very good. And he fit. I'd be surprised if the Mavericks don't bring him back, even though Jalen Brunson is probably going to be the starter, and he was really, really good for the Mavericks whenever JJ Barea got hurt. But I'd be surprised if they don't bring him back for a little bit of keep that veteran presence around, somebody who is on their championship team, and he fit really, really well with Luka. But if I'm the Rockets, I at least kick the tires on it and possibly make a move on it. Danny Green, it says Danny Green is projected to make around $10 to $12 million a year.
Okay.
So, I mean, oh, wow. Okay. Julius Randle has agreed to a 3-year, $63 million deal with the Knicks.
Yep.
Let's make that adjustment. Julius Randle with the Knicks.
So the other thing I was going to point out is that the Clippers beat writer, I believe for the LA Times, is Andrew Grief with the New LA Times? Yes, he with the LA. It says that the Danny Green and the Clippers have talked today. Not that he's signed, but that they've talked.
Would you give up Eric Gordon for Danny Green right now?
Yes.
Man, I know I said all that stuff about Eric Gordon a few minutes ago, but I think I kind of would. I think if right now,
what is I mean, can we do a player comparison? Want to do that?
Yeah, let's do a player comparison.
I'm going to pull up Eric Gordon. I'm going to pull up Danny Green, and it's going to be hard to do it because Eric Gordon has been a starter for a majority of his career. Danny Green has been a bench player for a majority of his career, and has started at different points. And with the Spurs, it's like he changes his starters like he changes the underwear. But he's been a starter for most of his time with the Spurs. I mean, we're talking about a guy that's not gonna score a ton for you. Eric Gordon is a 15, 16, 17 point per game guy.
Right.
But he's a significantly better defender.
Yeah, he is a much better. Well, I don't want to take anything away from Eric Gordon's defense, because I really do feel like Eric Gordon was a really, really plus defender for the Rockets, especially in the second half of the season, really later on in the season in the playoffs. I thought he was really good defensively. But Danny Green he's been an elite perimeter defender since he was with the Spurs. So isn't he cheaper? Like, couldn't you get They're about the same because Eric Gordon's about $12 million right now, and if you're paying $10 to $12 million for Danny Green, you'd have to do it in a sign and trade. But if Danny Green's leaving and you told the Raptors, look, we'll just do a 1-for-1 swap, you re-sign Danny Green, let him come here, we'll give you Eric Gordon, I don't see how the Raptors say no to that.
Right.
Especially because they're going to still want to have some scoring and somebody to play the 2, or maybe they use him off the bench. I don't know how they would use him, but
Did you know that Danny Green is a 40% from 3 for his career?
Yeah. Yeah, people don't realize how good of a three-point shooter he really is.
40% for his career?
Yeah. It's insane.
I didn't even know he was that good.
So the Knicks now have a projected $51 million in cap space after signing Julius Randle to a 3-year, $63 million deal. 3 years, so he's making a little over $20 million a year. That's pretty good for Julius Randle. I'm honestly surprised. Look, I'm interested to see what Bobby Marks thought he was going to make on the open market. Well, no, that's right around the range where he thought, $10 to $12 million a year. So that's right. Oh no, that's more than what he thought. So shit, starting salary $10 to $12 million, and he's making about 20 now. Maybe it's only like 16 for the first year, and it might be backloaded. Is that
Bobby Marks' list on ESPN?
Yeah, it's on It's ESPN Plus. Yeah, you can find it. But so
ESPN Plus.
Yeah, well, some of us look,
ESPN Plus.
I was just saying, like, some of us have money to throw around, and I like to live extravagantly.
But you did it in a way that like questioned whether or not that I could afford ESPN Plus.
Yeah, because
you were kind of like, yeah, on ESPN Plus.
Alex, do you have ESPN Plus?
No.
Well, exactly. It's not about whether or not you can afford it. It's because you don't want to pay for it because I know you're cheap. Thank you very much.
I'm frugal.
That's what every time I tell Kara she's cheap, she ends up saying, no, I'm just frugal. That's the same thing. They both mean the exact same thing. Man, how do you have to feel as a Knicks fan right now? I need Knicks fans. There
aren't anymore.
I know.
There aren't anymore. They are going to burn Madison Square Garden to the ground tonight.
Zach Lowe just retweeted Woj's Julius Randle tweet and said, how many times at Jones on the NBA did we talk about how Randle would make a nice front court pairing with Kristaps Porzingis? But man, that's got to be such a bad feeling. If you're the Knicks, if you're James Dolan, if you're a Knicks fan, I know there's still a few of you out there, to think that you're gonna have Kyrie and Kevin Durant at the beginning of the season, you think, holy shit, we're gonna have both those guys next year, and moving in forward into the future, it's gonna be awesome. And then you're like, okay, yeah, whatever, we got rid of Kristaps, that sucks, but Dennis Smith Jr. is gonna be, he's a stud, he's gonna be so good. That's what all Knicks fans were saying, and they didn't realize. Be careful what you wish for. Dennis Smith Jr.'s got some issues. Dennis Smith Jr., Kevin Knox, we've got R.J. Barrett. Now we're going to add Kyrie and Kevin Durant to that. And then you get neither of them. The Nets get them. That your in-town rival gets them. And then all of a sudden you're like, oh, but we got Julius Randle. Yay. It's just nuts to me, man. You know what I could see? They're going to have Julius Randle, and then next they're going to sign Jabari Parker. I can feel it.
All right, so let's reset here, because we're talking about a lot of fringe, not fringe NBA players, but we're talking about like the sort of role players. Let's talk about the stars. Man. I know, and so do I. And that's what shows like this are about, are like those role players that can help you win a championship. But I want to go back to the Brooklyn situation. Okay. Kevin Durant plans to sign a 4-year, $164 million contract to play with the Nets. He confirmed that obviously on his on the Instagram. Durant is also joining Kyrie Irving and DeAndre Jordan. For some reason, in the image that ESPN posted, they only put Durant and Kyrie and did not put DeAndre Jordan.
Oh my God! It's like the other day. I found some article that was talking about how the Knicks and the Kristaps Porzingis trade ended up working out. Or no, it was how you can build around Doncic and Porzingis, and then they brought up the trade. It's like, well, the Mavericks traded for Porzingis for what was it? They said it was just a bunch of it was Dennis Smith Jr., a 2 first-round picks, and then a bunch of salary matching. I was like, oh shit, you can't call DeAndre Jordan just salary matching. That's so rude. You can't say that to him. I don't think anybody respects DeAndre Jordan the way they should. I think he's still a really, really good player in this league. but he's just kind of floating around.
So I'm a little confused at DeAndre Jordan's spot in all of this with Brooklyn. And the reason I say that is because it's a guy that, and I know it's a weird situation because he was in that deal that sent that sent Porzingis to the Mavericks, but we were all surprised that he didn't get bought out with the Knicks at the time.
Yep.
I thought that was a for sure thing that was going to do, but he was an expiring contract, so it actually kind of made sense for him to just stay on board, although he would have been an expiring contract no matter what for New York, whether they released him then or obviously waited till the end of the season. But it surprises me that that he decided to stick around in New York and go there. I thought there would have been more of a market for him to potentially go to Houston. Houston had been trying to – we all thought was a destination for him if he got bought out by the Knicks. But to go to Brooklyn, I'm not entirely sure how he fits in with Kyrie, but you know what? He's always been kind of the ultimate pick and roll guy. So, especially as, a guy that goes to the bucket and catches lobs. He's what we all wanted Clint Capella, or what we hope Clint Capella continues to be actually for the Rockets. Just overall thoughts on how DeAndre fits into this on your end?
I don't know, because Jared Allen was a really good player for the Nets last year. And the confusing thing to me with, did you need DeAndre Jordan? Like, who's going to be the starter, right? Like, DeAndre Jordan's going to be 30, I think maybe 31 by the time the year starts, by the time the season starts. He's in his 30s. You got Jared Allen, who's in his 20s, is a really good, young, talented big man. And do you want to stunt his growth? Do you want to stunt him becoming a better player by starting DeAndre Jordan in front of him? Or is DeAndre Jordan going to come off the bench? Would DeAndre Jordan be happy coming off the bench?
Coming off the bench.
I don't think he is either. I think he's going to start. So then what do you do with Jared Allen? Because, is DeAndre Jordan that much better than Jared Allen? NBA 2K19 says no. There's only a 2-point rating difference between the two of them. Now, I know it's a video game. It's not the end-all, be-all. But if you look at what the two of them were last year, I'd probably I would value Jared Allen over DeAndre Jordan just because of how young he is. I'd want him playing more minutes and learning from DeAndre. So it's a weird move for me. That's why I thought for sure DeAndre Jordan was going to end up in LA. I thought for sure he was going to end up being a Laker. You know what? The thing with DeAndre Jordan is, I thought all year, well, not all year, since he got traded to the Knicks, I thought there was always a wink, wink, nudge, nudge deal between DeAndre Jordan and Mark Cuban, where it was, dude, we're going to trade you away. We're going to try to keep our pick. We're going to get Kristaps. And then at the end of the season, I'm going to pay you max dollars. I'm going to give you a long-term max contract, go to New York for a little bit, and then we'll re-sign you in the offseason. And I was convinced for the longest time that's what happened. But obviously that wasn't true. But yeah, I don't know how he fits. I mean, it looks great. It looks pretty. You're like, oh, Kyrie, Kevin Durant, and DeAndre Jordan. But then when you start to really kind of get into it, it's like the young guys in Dinwiddie, Jared Allen, Karis LeVert, they were a big part of the Nets' success last year. They were a big part of why the Nets even made the playoffs last year, obviously with D'Angelo Russell, but I'm like, which one of these two guys starts? If you're the coach of the Nets, who do you start at center?
I'm still starting DeAndre Jordan.
Really? Man, yeah. I don't know. I think I would start Jared Allen, but I'd probably end up starting DeAndre Jordan because I don't want that ego shot to him, right? But do you run the risk of hamstringing the growth of your young center, or do they end up dealing Jared Allen away? That's a possibility too. Because here's the thing that I think folks are missing: Kevin Durant is not going to play next season,
right? At all, not at all. So how is Brooklyn going to spin this from a basketball operations perspective for this season? Are they going to try try to win as much as possible? Are they going to put themselves in a situation where they're going to not overwork Kyrie and overwork Deandre? Did they get Deandre and Kyrie because they weren't going to have Kevin Durant this season, and they wanted to kind of use them as kind of a 1-2 pick and roll punch with some of the other pieces that they have, and maybe they'll go out and get another role player or two, some more 3 guys? I don't know. That's the question, is how they are going to play this. Because according to the report from Woj, he says the Nets and all the teams that were in the Durant sweepstakes knew it likely would be without his services for the entire 2019-20 season. Durant ruptured his right Achilles in the second quarter of Game 5 of the NBA Finals. He underwent surgery on June the 12th. So Durant, again, is still a relatively young NBA player. He's 31, but he'll be 32 when he's going to be able to play again.
Right.
Again, this kind of like makes me question how the Nets are going to play this. Are they going to play it to where they're going to try to be as competitive as possible and then bring KD in the following year, even though he's already there? I don't know. I don't know how you play this, because I think the best case scenario is that they play to lose and they tank the season and try to get back in the draft, because I did check, they own their 2020.
They do.
Draft pick, and they have Philadelphia's first round pick this
I think they're too good.
Or in 2020.
I think they're too good to try to tank. Like with Kyrie, Dinwiddie, Allen, LeVert, they're too good. They were good enough with all those guys to make the playoffs.
Yeah.
And so you're not good enough to tank for like maybe
you're not bad enough to tank. You mean?
Well, yeah, you're not bad enough to really truly tank. Maybe somehow you tank, and you get in the lottery, but you'd be in the back half of the lottery, and it's not like you could sit there and sit Kyrie. Maybe you could convince Kyrie to fake an injury, but is he going to want to do that? And also, he's going to think he's good enough to lead this team to a championship with or without Kevin Durant.
Here's the other thing too. They have 2 first-round picks. They have Philly's first-round pick. They have theirs, and they have, listen to this, they have Denver second, they have Indiana second, they have Portland second, and they have,
Jesus.
So they have 3 seconds that one, two, three, yeah, they have 3 seconds that aren't theirs, and their second, their own second is going to Philly. So they have 2 firsts and 3 seconds in this coming draft, in the 2020 draft.
That's insane. So they're going to make a trade. They have to, right?
They have to. You would think.
Like that's
now,
the biggest move for them.
They do it later, but this is a thing where they might see how they do as constructed for the 2 months of the season until they get to Christmas, and then kind of reevaluate their situation. Because they're in the East, they're gonna kill the bottom 6-7 teams in the conference.
Yep.
Like
but they're not losing good enough to. They're not good enough to beat the top yet. Without Kevin Durant, they're not.
So here's another question I have. I want to pull up Cleveland's roster.
Okay. You can pull it up in your weird thing. I'll pull it up on my weird thing. Let's look. Oh man, I know where you're going with this. Or at least
is Kevin Love available?
I don't know. I've heard a couple people talk about this, but the one team where when I've heard people talking about Kevin Love, I've heard the name Portland. I've heard the Trailblazers possibly trying to make a play for Kevin Love at some point, and to go play alongside Damian Lillard and CJ McCollum. Right.
Because here's why I'm saying this. Next season, Kevin Love is the only Cavalier that's under contract beyond 2020 that's not named Larry Nance.
Right.
Tristan Thompson's deals is done in 2020. J.R. Smith's done in 2020. Brandon Knight, Jordan Clarkson, John Henson, Matthew Dellavedova. They're all their higher paid guys, with the exception of Larry Nance and Colin Sexton. And Colin Sexton's on his rookie contract. They're all off the books. So if they can get rid of Kevin Love and take on an expiring contract, like they're set up for next free agency and finally get out of their salary cap hell that they're in. But can they find a team that's going to want to take that $31 million? Because here's the other thing, dude. He's only 30.
Yeah.
I can't believe that Kevin Love's only 30 years old.
He seems like he's 45.
I I I don't understand how he's only 30.
Mm-hmm.
But so the other thing beyond that is he's relatively inexpensive on his max contract based on what other guys are signing.
Yeah.
And he's locked in through 2023, and he actually makes less in 2023 than he makes in 2022. He makes 28.9 in 23 and 31.3 the next 2 years.
I don't think teams love what he brings, honestly. He's not a great defender.
He's what every NBA team is looking for in a power forward.
I totally agree with you.
Stretch forward.
He's a good rebounder. He's
still an excellent rebounder.
He's a good passer too.
You know where he's perfect? You know where he's perfect is
Houston.
San Antonio.
Oh God. He is perfect at San Antonio.
If they wanted to get rid of LaMarcus Aldridge and get because LaMarcus isn't a stretch four. And they wanted to have a stretch four, it would be San Antonio.
All right,
but
so
Kevin Love could end up with the Lakers.
oh man, could you imagine him and Anthony Davis next to each other? But he'd have to play with LeBron again. Would LeBron want Kevin Love?
I don't know.
That's the question.
Could he go to Brooklyn? Brooklyn we'll give you our 2 first-round picks next year for Kevin Love.
Oh yeah, and I don't doubt that Cleveland does that in a heartbeat. Because
then they have Kevin Love for next season with Kyrie, who's already played with Kevin Love.
Well,
won a championship with Kevin Love. And then if they have a great year, they keep him, and all of a sudden he's a slightly more expensive sixth man.
Yeah.
Or then they get rid of him because Kevin Durant's coming back.
I honestly could see a situation where the Nets say, "We'll give you 2 firsts and Jared Allen for Kevin Love. Thank you. Goodbye." Because then they've got Tristan Thompson there, but I'd rather have Jared Allen playing the 5 than Tristan Thompson.
Would you think the Rockets would trade Clint Capella for Kevin Love?
I think there's a possibility. It depends on how much they love Kevin Love. I'm so clever. I think there's a possibility, but would you want them to trade Capella for Kevin Love?
I'm not saying what I want at this point because I don't know. I don't
know what I want.
I really don't know the how stable that locker room is.
I don't think it's very stable at all, to be honest. They can say they can refute reports and they can call out the media all they want. It just makes it shows me that they're defensive, and if they're getting defensive, they're defensive for a reason, and it shows me that locker room is not okay. So
apparently Stephen A. Smith is crying on the air right now.
Why is he crying on the air? Oh, about the Knicks? Good. I wish we could play that and put it over there. George Hill has agreed to a 3-year, $29 million deal to return to Milwaukee. So Milwaukee's running it back with the crew they had, which isn't a bad idea. They had a really good team.
They were in the conference finals.
Yeah, they were a really good team. That is the perfect example of a team that could re-sign all of the guys that they had. Well, Brogdon's gone, so they're not running it back with everybody. Brogdon, and I think that's kind of a big hit to them. But Bledsoe was really good for them last year. Obviously, they needed to lock up George Hill with Brogdon gone, but Chris Middleton's going back there. They've got a really good team, and they've still got a couple of vehicles that they can use to bring even more guys onto the team. So I think that's good for them. Keeping George Hill, not the best defender, but he's a really, really good scorer, which is good. That's what they need because they've got a lot of good defensive players. They don't have a lot of guys that can create offense outside of the Greek Freak. So George Hill for them is big. Kevin Love with the Rockets, though, to finish that thought up, I would like it. I just don't think that they trade Capella for that. I don't think that's enough for them. I think they would need more in a Capella trade. Like, that's why they're fine with trading Capella into cap space or with a team that would take him on if it means they're getting Jimmy Butler. I just don't know that they would value Kevin Love the way maybe they should for them or the way other people would. Before we end this, because we got to end this soon.
Yeah.
Before we end this,
I'm hungry.
I am too. I haven't eaten since breakfast, Alex. Don't even with me. Don't even. Best free agents left. Bill Simmons put this up. Best free agents left. His top 10 are Kawhi, Jimmy Butler, Al Horford, D'Angelo Russell, Boogie Cousins, He has Julius Randle on there, but obviously he already signed. Kevon Looney, Robin Lopez, Patrick Beverley, Danny Green, and Marcus Morris. So there's now, with all the moves that have been made, there's a stark drop-off after about 5. After about number 5, there's a really big drop-off because you go from DeMarcus Cousins to Kevon Looney. So those are the top 10. So let's do real fast before we end this. Let's make our final predictions of where we think those guys are going to go. We'll do the top 10 guys and figure out where they're going to go.
Okay.
So Kawhi Leonard, where do you think he goes?
Toronto.
Toronto? I'm going to double team Kawhi Leonard and Jimmy Butler, and not in the gross way that you're thinking of right now, because y'all are all gross people and I know you're thinking it in your brain, but I'm going to double team Kawhi Leonard and Jimmy Butler. I'm changing my Toronto tune, and I'm going to say that they end up in LA together.
Okay.
Because the Kawhi Leonard, there's no reason to go to the Clippers if you're going by yourself, but I think soon we're going to find out that Danilo Gallinari is going somewhere, and Kawhi Leonard and Jimmy Butler are going to end up in LA together. Mm-hmm. Jimmy Butler, where do you think?
Miami.
I think that's probably more likely. Al Horford.
I'm going to pull a rabbit out of my hat, and I'm going to say Houston.
Oh, I would love that so much. I know he's there. So it's weird. For whenever the rumors were coming out that Al Horford was going to go to Dallas, I was like, no, I don't want 33, 4-year deal, new team, up and coming. I didn't want that. But for the Rockets, it makes way too much sense.
Here's why. Because I think Horford is a classy guy. The Celtics are a classy organization. They went and got their guy. Daryl used to work for the Celtics. He still has a great relationship with Boston and in the front office there. I think that if Horford wanted to play in Houston, they would work on a sign and trade to make it work without any headaches.
Right. I totally agree with that. Would you trade? Would Capella be a part of that trade?
I think that's who they would want. Although I would try to see if I could get rid of Eric Gordon.
I think everybody wants to get rid of Eric Gordon at this point, which makes that's fine.
Capella makes more sense because you're getting a front court. It's a front court player for a front court player.
Yes, but if you could do it without Capella, you could also put Al Horford at what I've always thought is his more natural 4 position. Yeah, and Al Horford at the 4 and Capella at the 5 would be an incredibly dangerous team because Al Horford can still shoot the 3 and he could pass.
Yeah.
So next up, D'Angelo Russell. Al Horford. I'm gonna say Pelicans. I forgot to say where I thought. Okay. I think he ends up with the Pelicans. D'Angelo Russell. Where do you think he ends up?
God, that's a good. I think whoever doesn't get Kawhi. So I'm gonna say the Clippers.
Okay. There's a part of me. There's a part of me that thinks he might.
Remember, he's a restricted free agent.
Right. Well, he's a restricted free agent, but once the Nets make the moves, they're gonna renounce his rights, and he's gonna be unrestricted after that. Because to make all those salaries work, they're gonna have to renounce D'Angelo Russell's rights, and then that makes him unrestricted. So I think that's why there's a little bit of a holding pattern on him, because teams are just waiting for him to be officially become an unrestricted free agent, so they can just sign him straight up. But I want to say the Knicks really, really bad. There's just now seeing that the Knicks have gotten nobody and they got Julius Randle. There's a large part of me that wants to say he ends up in New York, but I'm gonna stick with the Lakers. I think once the Lakers miss out on Kawhi, that D'Angelo Russell is their second pick, and they're gonna go with D'Angelo Russell. Okay, so the last of the star caliber players, or like the starter fringe star caliber players, DeMarcus Cousins, Boogie Cousins. This has been the hardest one for me to predict because I just have no idea what team would want him, where he would want to play. Where do you think Boogie ends up?
Man, so if the Rockets get Horford and they have to trade, if Capella gets traded in any respect for some other piece, then I would say Houston. Because I don't necessarily think that that's going to be the case as of right now. I'm going to say he goes either to the Lakers or goes.
It's hard. It's hard to predict.
I can't see a team in potential contention passing up on him.
Right. Because of the what if.
Yeah. You go. I'm gonna think about it.
Okay, so I have three different scenarios. I have three different possibilities for him, and if we go look at Bobby Marks's projected starting salaries for guys, I don't think that Boogie would get this because I think he would get more, but he's got DeMarcus Cousins at making right around $10 to $12 million a year. I could see DeMarcus Cousins getting a short contract where he's making around $20 million a year. That's probably more in line with what he's going to get. So there's three scenarios for me. One is the Lakers scenario. And in that case, I could see him getting the $10 to $12 million a year because then the Lakers sign D'Angelo Russell and then they move some money around and find a way to bring in Boogie as well because he already played with Anthony Davis once and those two looked absolutely perfect next to each other. So the number one is the Lakers. Number two, I would have had as the Knicks before
Today.
before Julius Randle, which I already had to take him off. But so if not the Lakers, then number two is the Clippers. Because I could see the Clippers making a move and maybe trying to play him in a front court with Montrezl Harrell since Montrezl Harrell can't play the four and Boogie can shoot and he can pass. He plays well with other big men because of his skill set. I could see the Clippers taking a flyer on him if they miss out on Kawhi. But this is an interesting one at number three. And it's because I'm wearing this fucking hat, and I'm sorry. I could see Dallas taking a flyer on him at $20 million a year.
Oh, no doubt. If they, I don't think it's about taking a flyer. I think
it's about
healthy.
he is healthy and he's good. Imagine DeMarcus Cousins playing with Luka Doncic and Kristaps Porzingis. My biggest concern with that is Dallas's average age is 24. And if you've got an average age of 24 and then you add DeMarcus Cousins, which he's older and he's different now. He's 28, and so he's a little bit different now. But he's still, we've always known him to be a guy who's a hothead, kind of talks in the locker room. How would he and Rick Carlisle work with each other? But if they could manage his ego, could you imagine a team with Luka Doncic, DeMarcus Cousins, and Kristaps Porzingis together? I think it'd be a really, really dangerous team. Boogie might be the wild card in all of this because he's going to get paid less, and he could still end up being one of the best players in the league.
That's what makes it kind of the most interesting out there because it goes beyond. You're not looking for a team with a max slot. You're looking for a team that would welcome him and where his style of play would actually fit. So I'm agreeing with those two teams. I think the wild card team would probably be Milwaukee for me.
Oh, yeah. That'd be a really interesting fit. They did just commit to Brook Lopez, so Brook Lopez is going back to Milwaukee, but if they have the money to spend with Brogdon gone, then why not say, hey, we'll bring Boogie in here? I think that'd be incredible because it's another guy who can create offense. And that's what they're missing the most is they have one guy on that team that can create his own offense. And everybody's like, well, Chris Middleton was an all-star. Well, Chris Middleton just shoots lights out. He's not a guy that really creates on his own. And especially with Malcolm Brogdon gone and Eric Bledsoe being a really good player but never really becoming the offensive player people thought he would be, bringing in Boogie would make a lot of sense for them.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Absolutely.
Okay, let's move down the list. Kevon, fuck Kevon Looney. I don't want to.
Why do you call him Kevon? It's Kevin. Kevin Looney.
I like saying Kevon because he spells it with an O, and it's funny to me. So let me do my thing, man. Kevon Looney. Where do you think he ends up? I would love for him to be in Houston, so that's what I'm going to say.
I think he ends up in Houston.
Especially because he is the Rockets' killer. Like he does such a good job of shutting them down. They need the defense. They need the rebounding. I love Looney in Houston. Robin Lopez. He's going to be cheap.
I thought he just resigned.
No, Brook Lopez resigned with Milwaukee. Where does Robin Lopez end up?
I don't care.
Yeah, no, I don't either. The last three I actually do kind of care about. So we'll start with Marcus Morris first and then go to the final two. Where does Marcus Morris end up?
To me, Marcus Morris is a guy that's probably going to seek money. Yeah. I'm gonna say he ends up in New York.
You say he ends up in New York? That's not a bad pick. Yeah, I could see that. I'll say New York as well, just because they're gonna have the money and he'll get overpaid to go there. Okay, so the final two. Danny Green first. Where does Danny Green end up?
Wherever Kawhi ends up. So
I
if
like
it's
that,
Toronto,
yeah.
if it's Toronto, it's Toronto. If it's the Clippers, it's the Clippers.
Okay. You know what? I'm gonna say the Clippers. It's just because I don't think it's wherever Kawhi. Well, you know what? Hell yeah, that makes sense. They've gone everywhere together.
There's an outside chance that I think San Antonio he'd go back to San Antonio.
Yeah.
But I haven't heard that at all. So
Yeah,
I haven't
either.
heard any rumblings that they've even had a conversation. So
I like that prediction. I'm gonna piggyback on that. I'm gonna jump on your coattails and ride into that with you. So yeah, I'm gonna say he ends up where Kawhi ends up, and because either way it works, and they play really really well together. The final one, and this one is an intriguing one to me. Patrick Beverley.
I mean, I really can't see him leaving the Clippers. I thought he had a good year, and I can't see why they would want to lose him.
There's only one team that I think he leaves the Clippers for, and that's Dallas. Because I think Dallas will overpay for his shooting and his defense. Because his skill set is exactly what they would want to complement Luka.
Yeah.
So that if he leaves the Clippers, then it would be Dallas for Patrick Beverley. And then Dallas goes from Kemba Walker to probably like Patrick Beverley and chump change, whatever else they add to the team. And you know what? I'm all on board that DeMarcus Cousins to the Mavericks train now. If they use all of their cap space, they can open up roughly like $42 million in cap space. If they use all that cap space to sign Patrick Beverley and DeMarcus Cousins, I'm totally on board. I think that'd be an incredible team to watch. Maybe not one of the top 5 teams. Maybe they could sneak into the top 5 with those 4 players. But I still do like Tim Hardaway. Jalen Brunson's still an incredible player, so you'd still have Jalen Brunson out there. So, but you've got a team that's got Patrick Beverley, Boogie Cousins, Kristaps Porzingis, and Luka Doncic. I think they could maybe sneak into the top 5. But final thoughts on Rockets. What at this point is your only move the Danny Green move?
Because Jimmy Butler's still unsigned.
If outside of Jimmy Butler, I should have prefaced that because obviously the Jimmy Butler, that's the biggest move that they're going to try to go for. But if that falls through,
no, but none of the rumored things that have been talked about are to me the move is Al Horford, because you need front court help. Them playing small. It helped them the previous season. It hurt them last year, especially in that game or in the games against Golden State.
They didn't have the right personnel for it. They didn't have guys that could
shorthanded.
defend.
They were shorthanded personnel wise, but they didn't have the right guys in there.
Right.
Clint Capella ceased being like a tough player.
Mm-hmm.
So they need some more rebounding, and whether it's Al Horford, a trade for Kevin Love.
Mm-hmm.
Going out and getting Kevin Looney to be a backup, center.
Say it the right way, Alex. Say it the right way. Kevon, yes. Thank you.
Kevon Looney. They need front court help. I'm looking for that more than anything.
Yeah.
If you're looking for guard help, to me the move is Danny Green. I just don't see the avenue in which it exists, especially with Daniel House already taking the mid-level and with him being not a max player, but a player that can command between $12 and $18 million a year.
Yeah, I totally agree with that. I think the Horford move, that's one that I asked for like 2 months ago when I was still at 6'10". I was doing a show with Bajani, and I was like, Horford needs to do whatever you can to try to work a sign and trade for Horford. His skill set it would fit perfectly with James Harden. I don't know that there's any other player out there whose skill set complements James Harden's the way he's. I was kind of sad that Paul Millsap's a guy that I thought would be great in a Rockets uniform, but obviously the Nuggets decided to take the option on it. He had a team option. They decided to opt into that, and so he's going to remain with Denver. But Al Horford, I don't disagree with that. I think Al Horford is the play for the Rockets, and then just if you can't do that, do anything you can to bring in longer, more athletic wings that can help you with your switching and can play defense and rebounding, because that's what killed them, is not having longer athletic wings that could play defense and rebound the ball. And that's why I really wanted them to sign Al Farouq Aminu. I wanted them to do whatever it took to get a guy like Al-Farouq Aminu, and I hate the fact that they didn't bring him in. But there's other guys out there. There are other names out there that of guys. If Kevon Looney is one of the moves that they make, I'm completely fine with that. If they go out there and try to bring in a guy at like the 3, at the 2 or the 3, like Justin Anderson is a guy that I wouldn't mind taking a flyer on. He's a vet minimum. He's a long, athletic, good defender. Do you want to re-ride? Well, how about this? And he's restricted, and he's coming from Dallas. What about Dorian Finney-Smith? You could probably get him for about $4 to $6, $8 million. Like you could probably get him for the rest of the MLE, and one of the exceptions.
I don't think they have enough to be able to sign him in free agency outright.
Yeah.
I don't think
Dallas would just match it?
And I think the Daniel House thing really complicates stuff.
Yeah, it does. It does. And look, there's a guy like Wilson Chandler out there too who I think would help them. I've liked Wilson Chandler for a really long time, but even those names like Dorian Finney-Smith, Wilson Chandler are those guys that really move the needle for you as rotational guys. Like, can you convince Wesley Matthews to take a vet minimum or take $2 or $3 million a year? Like, I think his shooting and his defense would be great, but can you convince him to do that? And also, he's 32 years old. How much is he going to help you? So, yeah, there's not a lot that they can do, man.
So real quick, Adam Kaufman said that the sign-and trade with Terry Rozier gives the Celtics $9.2 million mid-level exception. So they no longer have to renounce their free agent rights to Horford and Marcus Morris, making it possible for them to return.
Oh, my God.
Horford is not expected to make a decision before Monday or Tuesday. So they actually had now they had the ability to not only sign Kemba Walker, but now they could bring back their own free agents.
If they get to bring back Marcus Morris and Al Horford decides to return to the Celtics, then I might move Boston to the number 1 team in the East. With Kemba Walker, Jaylen Brown, Jason Tatum, Marcus Morris, and Al Horford. Yeah, no, if that happens for some reason, they are absolutely the number 1 team in the East for me. Even ahead of the Bucks, even ahead of the Raptors if the Raptors keep Kawhi. I immediately moved Boston to the number 1 team. That would be an insane. They're going to be my secret, sneaky favorite team to watch next year if Al Horford returns and they get Kemba Walker. What a great look! People were shitting on Danny Ainge. I don't know why people were shitting on Danny Ainge, but people were shitting on Danny Ainge for getting the lesser version of Kyrie Irving, which Kemba Walker's not that. Kemba Walker's turned into an amazing player in his own right, and you don't have to deal with the ego and the headaches with Kemba Walker, at least from what we've heard. And who knows what he can be like against really good players. And now Danny Ainge has set up a situation where he could easily bring Al Horford back, and they just pay the luxury tax. But you pay the luxury tax for a team like that. That's interesting. I hate the fact that this dude. You know what? I'm just done. I hate the fact the Celtics are going to be so good, the Lakers are going to be so good, and then the teams that we love are just going to be sitting on the outside looking in, just barely on the outside, but on the outside freaking looking in as usual.
Hey, your boy Ryan Russillo is waiting patiently for Adrian Wojnarowski to be done with his breaking of news. He says probably a good time to remind folks I'll be taping with Woj tonight for the first ever episode of the Woj Pod. And Woj is like, we'll absolutely record this tonight, Ryan.
Eventually.
Eventually.
Oh, that's perfect. Well, we're going to go ahead and wrap up our thing because I'm really hungry and I want to go get something to eat. And I don't know how much more we can say without any. I was hoping more moves would drop, but they didn't. But Alex, I absolutely. What? Go ahead.
Yeah, let's try to. Once free agency is muted a bit in terms of like where we know guys are going, we should get back on this, especially as the Rocket stuff solidifies, just to kind of maybe break down rosters and maybe do a recap of our top 5.
Either this Thursday or next Tuesday. I think we're gonna have a pretty concrete idea of where everybody's going and how everything's gonna be, and we could do a recap. So we will definitely do a recap.
Friday's a good day for me because
everything.
I'm off on.
I don't do my shows on Fridays, and I'm not off on Friday. I work on Friday. Actually, Friday is the 4th of July.
But Thursday is the 4th of July.
No, Friday. Wait, yeah, Thursday is the 4th of July. Oh, maybe we'll have to reschedule to a Friday show, and we'll have a special Wasted Talent with Josh Beard featuring Alex Del Barrio on a 5th of July Friday. Yeah. It's a really, really wordy title for a show, but that's what it's going to be now. I've decided, and it will be so. But I appreciate you joining me for tonight. This was a lot of freaking fun, man.
Yeah, man.
I love talking I literally probably could have sat here for another 2 hours just brainstorming and talking basketball with you.
I would have made some Easy Mac at some point during that if we did that. But
I would have just gone back to playing NBA 2K and let you walk away and do Easy Mac. But we'll go ahead and end it now. I appreciate everybody watching. Everybody who's still watching right now, go make sure you follow Alex at Alex Del Barrio on Twitter. Is there anywhere else that you'd like everybody to follow you?
At Alex Del Barrio on Twitter, at Alex Del Barrio on Insta, and the Alex Del Barrio on Facebook.
How do you know that there's not other Alex Del Barrios that are just as important as you? Wow, the ego on this guy.
At Alex Del Barrio on Facebook was taken, so I had to go with the Alex Del Barrio.
Well, you can follow me at Josh Beard Radio on Twitter and Facebook because I'm not at the Josh Beard Radio. It's just at Josh Beard Radio. You can also follow me, Tooth Pete, on Instagram and on Twitch. I'll be doing these shows on Twitch too, and YouTube. Follow me, Tooth Pete, on Instagram and on YouTube. And you can watch this show every Tuesday and Thursday at 9 o'clock. Wasted Talent with Josh Beard, and some special Friday episodes with Alex when the 4th of July happens on a Thursday. But I appreciate you guys watching, and we will see you guys later. Have a very, very good night, and sorry tomorrow's Monday. I don't know what else to say. Goodbye.